Hey everybody, this is Arathis, and welcome back to Night Call. So, after yesterday's stream when we actually failed to catch the killer, I reloaded the game, and I went through and accused every individual, and none of them were actually the killer, which leads me to believe that that shouldn't happen. I don't think it's a bug though. I think what it is since Busset or however you pronounce her name, I think since she has to present the case to the department, has to present the case to the DA, I think you actually need to have like definitive evidence, and I think that's what we were missing. So we're gonna give this another shot. And I think this time what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and do the judge. So we don't have to worry about cash because, yeah, after playing through the balanced mode of the game, the cash system feels absolutely pointless. I mean, I love this game. I love the aesthetic. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, but the cash system in the game is pretty unbalanced, even in the balanced mode. So, yeah, it seems highly unnecessary, especially since you can't do anything with cash. It's just a way to, insert a fail state in the game prior to, the end where you're picking a killer. So let's just go on in with story mode. And I'm not going to skip through the beginning here, but some of the passengers we might burn through a little bit faster just because we've seen them. But I think the tactic we should do now is every time we see one of our suspects out on the road looking for a cab, we're going to run straight to them. And that's going to be our fare. Because I think that's the problem. We only did one trip in the cab with each of the suspects, but it looks like they show up multiple times. So, yeah. So maybe that's how we get the rest of our information. Here? Sir, can you hear me? Or do I need to speak up? You're fine? Well, let's do yes, speak up. Is this okay with you? Is my voice loud enough? Yep. She takes a deep breath. Sir, you just spent 2 weeks in a coma. The word bounces around your head. You need a moment to understand its meaning. Coma? The word scratches along your throat. Yes, you were the victim of an assault. The word resonates in your head, victim. You are aware a serial killer is currently on the loose in Paris. You feel the contents of your stomach crawling up your throat. The judge, as a police call the killer, assaulted you. The bullet touched your liver, and in most cases, it would have been fatal. We chose to put you in an induced coma. Her voice becomes more distant, fades. You taste bile at the back of your mouth. Your head is burning. You hear a whistle in one ear. That's me talking. This game doesn't have any VO. Your fingers move to your wound. Underneath the bandages, you can feel hard skin. It is incredibly painful. Did they? I'm sorry. Did they catch the judge? No. Or else we wouldn't have anything to do. He was dead before you even got out of your cab. The doctor is silent for a second, a very awkward second. She hesitates. The police would like to see you as soon as possible to ask some questions. After all, you're the only one who survived the judge. Noise in the hallway attracts your attention. You try to turn your head, but to no avail. You need to rest. She leaves the room. Her voice resonates in the hallway. I don't care if he's the only witness. Another female voice joins in, a strong authoritarian voice. You can't clearly make up what she's saying. A strange feeling washes over you. It's not pain, not fatigue, some odd combination of the two. Before being in this hospital room, you'd never realize that anger was made up of a combination of pain and exhaustion. Anger. A feeling you know all too well. I hope we get some information about this dude's backstory, because the last playthrough didn't give us much. Days go by, and a month later. Well, look, I've got a bit of a problem. Yes, boss? A real problem, that is. You have a pounding headache. It's your first night behind the wheel since the attack. Man, back to work a month after being in an induced coma and basically being disemboweled by a serial killer. Okay. Not sure I would take that step, but okay. Are you listening to me? You catch your boss's eye in the rearview mirror. Yup. He stares at you for a second or two without speaking. Sometimes I wonder what goes on inside your head. You always seem so far away. Sorry? I just want things to get back to normal, to clear my head, to stop thinking about it all. He's watching you closely, trying to make out what's going on in your head. You know I'm worried about you, don't you? I know. You're like a son to me, you know? I know. And you know he's about to tell you the story of his taxi fleet again. When my father died and left me the store, I could have sold it. I could have retired, gone back to the old country. Yeah, let him talk. There's no problems. But I decided to start a cab fleet with the money he left me, to hire the guys from the neighborhood. And that's why I've got 45 guys like you working for me. His hands flutter in the air, though none of them are any match for you. He smiles. His voice suddenly takes on a serious note. You want me to go over everything again? He points to the equipment on the dashboard, the meter, the GPS. You haven't been in a taxi for weeks. Maybe you do need a little refresher. Nah, I'm fine. I know what I'm doing. Your boss seems a little embarrassed. It'll just take a minute. It'd make me feel better. All right. Right then. Well, first the map. You spot potential customers, try to decide where they're going to be going, then you decide. When a customer orders a taxi, if there's no one else around, you have to go pick them up. He shrugs. That's the way it goes. It's business. No problem. The other fare is you look at the map and decide whether or not you want to take them. I've never had a game make me feel guilty for not taking the tutorial. And then you drive. He flashes a quick mechanical smile. You know it well. When he talks about work, he talks about work. That is all. When your shift is over, we do the numbers and... His voice trails off as if searching for the right words. And that's all. It's pretty simple. There's no reason why you can't do it. All right, no overtime. We're in France here, and there are rules, regulations. You might not see it that way, but no one likes having a driver who hasn't slept for 24 hours. Probably because that driver doesn't smell too nice, and they don't want to die. He looks away. Something's been bothering him since he got into the cab. Anyhow, you know the ropes. You get it. I know you're going to do a good job. What's the matter? Your boss keeps quiet for a while as if he's hesitant to speak, and then... I don't think it's a good idea. You shouldn't be driving. The murderer is still out there, and we think he's going to be coming back for you. Maybe. Your boss pulls himself up a little straighter. You can sense he's trying to control himself, trying not to get upset. Maybe he'd been told to go easy on you. He holds your gaze, then turns away. You know, I can put you on the day shift or send you out to the suburbs away from it all. You shake your head no. Don't worry about it. Anyway, I'll let you get back to work. Every minute spent in your taxi is a minute lost. He gives you a smile, half ironic, half serious. You can count on me. He scratches at an invisible stain on the armrest. Yeah, I know. That's the problem. He smiles. Your boss opens the door and exits the cab. You watch him cross the street and enter the fleet garage. A couple of colleagues are milling about. Taxis are coming and going. They all ignore you, consciously or unconsciously. You're branded. You sit there a moment, excuse me, then turn the key in the ignition. The hum of the engine sends a tingle down your spine. It's impossible to describe how you miss that feeling. It's back to the nightlife, night shift, back to life. Despite the attack, despite it all. All right. So, looks like we got quite a few people to pick from. Now, I like this one. I'm going to go and pick up the cat. I think this is... He doesn't really show up after this first night, from what I remember. And he leaves us a tip. Krauke. You pull up to the sidewalk and wait for your passenger. Since it looks like a no-show, you get out of the cab after a minute or two to smoke a cigarette. There's not much going on in this small town in the suburbs. There are a few apartments that still have lights on. A sweet scent hangs in the air. Eventually, you stub out your cigarette and get back into the car. You jump, startled. A cat has managed to slip into the cab. It's sitting on the back seat, staring at you intently. You sit there for a moment, considering whether or not to shoo it away. But just as you're about to wave your hand, the cat shifts positions and a slip of paper falls from its collar. You pick up the piece of paper and unfold it. A fragment of a map of Paris, the Saint Lazare train station. You turn your eyes slowly to the cat. He seems to be expecting an answer. Going somewhere? The cat tilts his head to the side as if to say yes. Do you want to go to Saint Lazare? The cat tilts its head again. Are you a dog? The cat slowly nods its head no. Your hands clutch the wheel tightly. The hell is going on? You turn around to face the cat. Okay, fine, I'll take you. You let out a sigh. All right. You start talking to yourself in low tones as if to balance the conversation. Normal. This is all perfectly normal. You start the cab but cast a glance at the cat behind you. You're the one who ordered the cab? You start to laugh. A few minutes go by. You try to break the ice. Simple questions are probably best. Everything okay? Neither a yes or a no, more of a plaintive meow. You running away from someone? The cat lets out a long, plaintive meow. Another cat. Your owner. Again, a long, melancholic meow. You nod your head. What happened? Was it a man? No answer. A woman? Was she mean to you? The cat seems to be uncertain. She was overly affectionate. The cat lets out a string of insistent meows. Touché, that's it. She is too affectionate. And that's why you're running away? The cat is watching you with a steady eye. You are sure you're on the right track. And if you're new to the stream and wondering why I'm picking those options right now, we've already played this investigation. It didn't go. We didn't actually succeed. So some of these conversations I actually remember. And so we'll be going through some of these fairly quickly. You have to be careful with people like that. They suffocate you before you even know it. You nod your head. But you ran away. I meet lots of people like you. You stop short, but you are just a cat. You roll your eyes. Behind you, the cat lets out a quiet, reassuring meow. Go on. What I mean is, well, we don't even know we are in a cage. We prefer not to think about it. We're never fully aware of it. You look at the cat. I must be crazy. I'm talking to a... You shake your head. You point to a light in the distance. That's Saint Lazare. We'll be there soon. A few yards later, you stop at the drop-off area in front of the station. The first train doesn't leave for another hour. Where are you going? The cat stares at you without making a noise. Let me guess. Saint Lazare. If you were going to the suburbs of Paris, you wouldn't have needed to come into town. So, somewhere in the northwest of France. Normandy? Somewhere by the sea, huh? The cat is looking at you and meows. A sharp sound. Probably yes. A very hungry yes. For the fish, I guess. You check the time on the dashboard. It's time to go to get a real customer. You try not to think about the situation you're in, and you hope that no one sees you talking to a cat. Go on. I'll just start naming the names of cities and you meow when I hit the right one. You start to list cities in Normandy. The cat doesn't move a muscle. Cherbourg. The cat looks up. So it's Cherbourg. Getting close. St. Malo? No. I got it. Deauville. A meow of delight. You're smiling too. All of a sudden, you're exhausted. Okay, come on. Time to say goodbye. Get out of the cab and open the back door. A bill has appeared on the seat next to the cat. It's enough for the fare. And more. Well, you're full of surprises, aren't you? I won't ask you where it came from. You smile and lean over to pet the cat. It leaps out of the car and darts between your legs. You can just make out its shape dashing up a flight of stairs and slipping between the bars of a gate. You get back in the car. You look at yourself in the rearview mirror. Your features are heavy with fatigue. Your right eyelid is twitching. As you start the car, you remember you're allergic to cats, but you haven't sneezed once. You pull out of the station. Thank you. Now, we've talked to these people before, so basically what I'm going to be trying to do a lot in this particular playthrough is I'm going to try to pick people that we haven't seen before, and I'm going to try to, like, when we get the list of suspects, I'm going to focus on them, because honestly, I have no idea where we messed up in the previous playthrough. We just clearly didn't have enough evidence against any of the suspects. Somewhere in this street, you ran into that movie star, the one in the coffee ads. I need to go to Faubourg Saint-Honor. All right. The next passenger to get in your cab has a surprisingly calming presence. Oh, it's a priest. He gently closes his door and gives you an address on the other side of the city. You start driving. You sense your passenger wants to talk about the killer. It's simple. Since the first murder, everyone thinks they know something. Everyone thinks they saw something. And this passenger is no exception. Ah, we got a clue. Rather chilly out, isn't it? His voice is warm and deep. Finally, you notice his white collar. You're not too cold? We do what we can to stay warm. You've got a lot of grit to want to drive in this kind of weather. I got bills to pay. The holy water font froze yesterday. We had to pour boiling water over it to break the ice. He pauses for a moment. He looks at the car, the seats, the windows. It's funny. I'd never made the connection before today, but a taxi's kind of like a confessional. A small box removed from the world where two people can converse without the risk of being interrupted. He waits. You look at him in the rearview mirror. Do people blabber on about their lives? Sometimes. Or just smile. His face lights up. Why, yes, I'm doing exactly what my parishioners do when they come for confession. They start with small talk, the weather, their grandson, granddaughter, niece, their dog. Then they finally get around to what really matters. They share lies, trickery, stinginess. He sighs. I've been listening to people's confessions for over 15 years, and it's funny, but no one has ever told me anything really serious. That's probably a good thing, actually. He's waiting to see how you react. No crimes? A slight smile on his face. There have been things that are hard on a personal level, but never anything illegal. It's just that the people I hear in confession have so much to say. Of course, we all have things we're ashamed of. Freud clearly understood the importance of the confession booth. He made it into something more modern, more attractive, and less punitive. He pauses. Before going to seminary, I never doubted my calling, but since... He leans in closer. His voice is now lower and softer. Since then, I have a clear understanding of the world. I can connect religions, schools of thought, ideas. And living in a country that is less and less religious, it's hard not to start wondering. Your passenger makes a sound like a cork popping from a wine bottle. I have something I want to tell you. It doesn't bother me that people stop believing or believe in something else. Why our faith more than another? He struggles to find his words. What bothers me is that I'm not bothered by it. It's like I've already accepted it. He looks outside. Is there such a thing as driver-passenger confidentiality? He pauses, then bursts out laughing. I'm kidding, but I do wonder what people talk to you about. How would you feel about swapping stories? Sure. I mean, I don't really have any yet. Really? I didn't think... He smiles. Nothing leaves his car, right? You nod. Who first? We can go first, just to get him to open up. It's not such a nice story. It's a story that haunts you. You think about it regularly. Ooh, it gives us backstory. And not only because of everything that followed. The night of the terrorist attacks, the other drivers and I were helping people get home. We drove around, waved to people to get in, telling them it was okay, that everything was going to be all right. It was chaos. They all wanted to get home to their loved ones who weren't answering their phones. The slightest odd noise made them jump. Anyway, a woman and her husband got in this car. She wore a headscarf. He was glued to his phone. They gave me an address and we drove towards Rue de Rivoli. The radio was announcing the first estimations of the number of deaths. He started crying. She looked at me, stared at me in the rearview mirror like she wanted to read my mind. We'd almost arrived when he told her to take her scarf off, that it would be easier for everyone that day. She refused. He raised his voice. She continued to stare at me in the mirror. A car speeds in front of you. You stop talking. How reckless. You glance at the meter, the green light, your rearview mirror. In the back seat, your passenger leans slightly forward. And what did you do? I nodded, insinuating that she was right, that it would all come down to that. She kept her headscarf on. I pulled over in front of the building. She got out first, walked toward the building without waiting for him. He paid me, lowered his eyes. He takes a second to process the story. He holds your gaze, his hands clasped. Impressive. Very impressive. You're saying we should remain proud of and faithful to our convictions. You nod. Your passenger smiles, but something's not quite right, as if the smile were forced. My turn now, then, I suppose. There was this old man whose wife died very young. Since she was an avid churchgoer, he continued to come every Sunday morning. He clarifies. You should know that it's rare to see men alone at church. There are couples, lots of old ladies, mothers, young women. Church is not very manly, unfortunately. But anyway, he came. One day he asked me to take his confession. We sat down, a long moment of silence went by. I usually let them get acclimated to the muffled sounds coming from outside the booth, especially if it's their first time. And there, he tells me that he's in love with someone but doesn't dare betray his deceased wife. She was everything to him, you see, his sun, his oxygen. For the last 20 years, he'd been suffocating, incapable of living alone. He wondered if it was a sin or wrong, or if he might upset his wife up in heaven. He pauses a minute to let a smile spread across his face. I managed to find the right words, but he still wasn't sure and said he'd come back to talk to me again. He stops. He died that night in his sleep. I think of him often. We don't always hear our calling. We avoid our destiny. His expression freezes. He hesitates, opens his mouth, stops himself, then finally, you're right. Our stories are similar, complementary. Thank you for sharing it with me. You've almost reached his destination. You notice your passenger's been keeping an eye on the dashboard clock. You park in front of the address he gave you and cut the motor. The passenger pays his fare and suddenly seems lighter, more at ease. Good luck. He gets out of the taxi and disappears into a nearby building. Oh, nice tip. The door suddenly opens and a woman gets in the back seat. Oh, hi, Busset. Busette, I guess is what I'm going to call her. Having a good night? For a second, you freeze. It's one of the cops working on the judge's case. She grins at you. Her voice creaks. You remember seeing her at the hospital. Something already bothered you about her there. You know, it's actually pretty crazy. For weeks, I've been saying to myself, there's something off about you. Something not so nice. I dug around, mulled it over, bugged all my fellow cops about it because I was sure you lied to us. I'll let her keep going. She whistles to cut you off. Hey, I'm talking. I don't give a damn, lady. I already know you're a corrupt piece of shit. She has a cold sneer on her face. I'm gonna be frank with you. She leans over to you. I don't think you're the judge. Nah, I just can't picture it. She squints like she's trying to make you out from far away. Like you'd have gone to the extent of hurting yourself. Yeah, between us, it's a bit of a stretch. She stares at you. But not enough of a stretch for my chief to stop going on and on about you. Seriously, he talks about you all the time. If I didn't know better, I think he'd had a crush on you. She smirks. No, I think he's more interested in your profile. In prison at 17. An icy chill fills your gut. And for murder, too. You open your mouth, but nothing comes out. Since you got out, you've kept a low profile, but you're lying about your name and your address. I checked. It's normal, you'd say, if they get word of your time served, no loan for your permit, no lease for your car, meaning no second chance at life. Her voice becomes softer, almost warm. I personally like guys who want a second chance. No, I like guys who fight for a second chance. Basically, I like guys who are willing to work for me. She leans forward, her shining cat-like eyes narrowing. My chief wants to go to the prosecutor with a first and last name, with evidence. Actually, knowing him, he's not so hot on the evidence. So I'll give you info, victims, suspects, medical reports, some photos that are a bit... She makes a gagging noise. You have to be discreet. Keep it between you and me. Interrogate, ask questions, dig around. Not a cop. She shrugs. Don't worry, you're already keener than half the squad. And don't forget, I'm not asking you to make an arrest and deliver the killer wrapped up with a bow in front of the station, okay? You're no Batman. You're just here to get me more information. She rummages around in her pockets for what seems like forever. Here, take my card. I'll call you in 3-4 days just to check in. We'll chat. And I'll let you know if I have any new information. She takes on a didactic, paternalistic tone, like she was giving you a list of recommendations for the 100th time. Don't get caught, don't get arrested. Also, I wouldn't recommend trying to leave Paris. I know what you look like and I know who your friends are. You can either be the solution or the problem, my friend. She takes a minute to scan your face, your emotions. If I have to, I'll go check in on you-know-who. Her smile is biting. That reminds you, she know you've done time? You shake your head, she snickers. Oh, my little dirtbag, you cover your tracks well. What if I refuse? If you refuse? Simple, I turn you in. You corrupt piece of shit. I'll send your picture to all my friends in the media and every asshole in Paris. Your picture with your name on it, your real name. Anyone close to you will have their places searched. They'll be put under house arrest, spend nights in jail. You have any idea how tense things are with that fucker's trial underway? You sigh. You know just what she's trying to get at. Come to think of it, your last names are almost the same. You could be brothers, actually. I'm nothing like that terrorist. Well, let's just leave it and say nothing for now. She takes on a serious tone, businesslike. I want to catch this killer personally. I want to drag him to court, ruin his fucking life with a bang. I can't botch this case, you got me? And neither can you, right? Nope. Well, great then. We see eye to eye. So you can just say you're my informant, my CI. You ripped open your gut. You saw your own insides. You were in a coma. Yeah, you got plenty of reasons to want to get back at him. She furrows her brow. Yeah, I think you're actually going to do what I tell you to do. You investigate, ask questions, listen to all the rumors, and you come up with a list of suspects. She lays her hand on the door handle and freezes. Oh, right, and don't get fired. Without this cab, you're worth nothing to me. You glare at her. You know what? Yeah, I said nothing last time. Yeah, whatever, if that makes you feel better. She puts her hand up and you can hear the words behind it. This conversation never happened. I'll make sure you get more intel tomorrow. I'll find a way. Until then, not a word to anyone, obviously. Not a word. I was like really cooperative with her last time and it didn't help. So I'm just gonna say what I feel about her. He sit alone for a while, teeth clenched, dry-eyed, ears buzzing. Shit. On the back seat, the cop left a pile of papers. Shit. Key in the ignition, motor running. Radio on, it crackles. You turn it off and start driving. Talking to passengers might unlock new documents and clues for your investigation. You will find them back at your studio after your shift. 6 clues discovered. God damn. Here we go. Oh, you're just gonna end my shift just like that? I had plenty of time left to work. I picked up 2 passengers. Come on now. You take a second to enjoy the silence of your studio apartment. Outside, the city is slowly waking up. You can still hear the hum of the taxi buzzing in your ears. Oh, you are very welcome, Cisco Kid. I hope you're enjoying the game. You throw the files Bousset gave you on the table. On the wall, you hung up the big cork board where you used to pin up photos of your nephews. They've been gone since you got out of, prison. Your plan is simple. Jot down all the pieces of evidence and connect them to the suspects. The guilty party won't necessarily be the one with the most evidence against them, but the one with the most compelling evidence against them. It's like you're building a story about each suspect, trying to understand their motives. Understand how he or she got into this situation. A bus goes by, making the walls shake. You glance at your bed and get to work. All right, let's go ahead and open up all the files. Get all these up on the cork board. All right. That's interesting. We're missing one of the suspects from last time. No, there's the retired cop. Oh no, this is everybody. Okay. They just changed the order. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna try to put the ones in common on the side here. Rare gun. Victim 2 killed an Algerian man, never arrested. That's a new piece of information that we didn't get last time. Okay. This applies to everybody. And I'll just move all the ones that make no sense currently off to the side. Oh yeah, that does apply to her. Okay. The height matches everything. Now, as I said before, I don't know who... Here's my concern about this. I don't know who the killer is at all. And I don't know if it's randomized. I don't know if the, different playthroughs, it picks a different killer that you can find based on the information. All I know is, like I said, at the end of the last stream, she was blocked out because of something that happened in the story. And these four, I was able to accuse. He had a ton of evidence against him, but it didn't work. It didn't matter who I picked, and none of the four qualified as the killer, which makes me think, like, some people have, I was looking at the Steam forums, other people have had this issue, but from what I could tell, I don't think it's a result of a bug or anything. I honestly think you're missing the key evidence that will, like, lock that person in. So we'll see. That's all we can do right now. You open the sofa bed and lie down. The events of the day run through your head. The streets, the passengers, their faces, their problems. You open one eye. Your back aches. You'd like to close your eyes and go back to sleep. You get up quickly. And a few minutes later, you're outside of your studio. Night 2. Okay, so we have a location we can visit. All right, so what I want to do is I want to head up, visit this location, and then go talk to Herv, because like I said, my big goal this stream, just to get more information about how the game works and see if my theories are correct. Every opportunity I get, I'm gonna track down, like, the suspects. I've never talked to this lady before, but she's right here, so we need to get a fare as well. I'm going to turns, if I remember correctly. Yeah, you don't need to go very far. Cool. A beautiful woman climbs into your cab. There's something sensual and comforting about her. No, I just missed it, but don't worry, I'm taking a cab. Anyhow, I just wanted you to know. For a minute, you think she's talking to herself, but she leans over and whispers her address to you. I think he really enjoyed it today. As you start the cab, you notice a hands-free headset practically hidden by her thick head of hair. I'll massage his feet tomorrow, and I'll let you do the rest. A small laugh escapes her. Or the other way around, sure. And a crutz or cruise? It's normal to feel a little awkward at first, or uncomfortable. I mean, not knowing what to do. Thought I saw a T in that name. But you'll see. A couple more days and you'll get the hang of it. Anyhow, you should get to bed now. You need to keep up your strength. She stopped talking. Her phone call is over. She catches your eye in the rearview mirror and bursts out laughing. You look shocked. Not at all, actually. Your passenger crosses her legs and gives you a playful pout. Tisk tisk. Tried to make the noise and it didn't work. I don't believe you. You're letting your imagination run wild. What exactly were you imagining? That I'm on my way home from a threesome or something? There's a mischievous gleam in her eye. Could be. She lowers her gaze and turns her head, serious all of a sudden. But I'm not. The truth isn't that rosy. Actually, I was at my son's house. What now? Your passenger roars with laughter. It seems to be doing her a world of good. No, sorry, you don't understand. Something's like her son's like bedridden or something. No, sorry, you don't understand. I've been taking care of him since his accident. I'm a nurse. There you go. His accident? That's right. He was supposed to meet his father for a rugby match. He was in a hurry. He tried passing a truck on the right as he was leaving the highway. Driver didn't see him. Her voice trails off. I don't know how he managed it not to die on the spot. That's tough. And all that just to see a rugby match. Her smile is playful, full of life. I mean, ever since he was little, I tried to get him interested in soccer. And see what happened. A smile of dry amusement flickers across your passenger's face. Anyway, he's been in a coma for weeks now. Grade 2. Not a total vegetable, but not all that hardy either. So I had to move him to his place. Cruz and I are taking care of him now. Cruz? His fiancée. A lovely girl. Your passenger puts her hand to her mouth to smother a giggle. Totally inhibited, but sweet. Very religious. She prays in Spanish at his bedside every night. They've been going out for 2 years now, and I still don't think they've... She blushes. Well, you know. A brief silence. You find yourself trying to think of something to say. How are you holding up? Your passenger doesn't answer right away. You're afraid you've embarrassed her, but her face looks relaxed. I work in palliative care, you know. I've spent the last 8 years of my life taking care of people who are going to die. That's a rough job. The only question worth asking is how long before they die. It helps keeps things in perspective. In my son's case, there's still hope, and at least I can help. I mean, I know how to do it anyhow. For one thing, there's the day-to-day stuff. Nails, hair, beard, it all grows like crazy. There's a lot of maintenance like a gardener. Same for the teeth, we have to brush them every now and then. Because believe me, if Tituan wakes up looking and smelling like a werewolf, we'll never hear the end of it. Tituan, huh? I probably butchered the pronunciation of that name, to be honest. A smile escapes you. Your passenger sees it in the rearview mirror and is clearly pleased. But the biggest risk is not being able to move. Our bodies are meant to move. I know, it's hard to believe when our alarm clocks go off, but it's true. Our blood circulation stops working correctly. Our skin gets cold, loses all its elasticity. So we have to massage him as often as we can. And then there are the bed sores. Do you know what bed sores are? I think so. In the hospital, there are a lot of patients who are still conscious and who have bed sores. Their bodies are racked with pain. It's like being skinned alive. Oh, good God. The worst part is we have to change their bandages twice a day. Talk about brave. Working in the hospital is hard. The work, it's pretty depressing, but in Tituan's case, it's different. I don't have a choice. It has to be done. And actually, I'm happy. We can't talk to each other anymore. He doesn't even react when I touch him. So taking care of him is just my way of showing him I love him. That's a good thing, isn't it? Yeah. Pretty odd, huh? But that's how it goes. Your passenger shudders briefly. Okay, Patricia, enough of that depressing stuff. Let me tell you something funny. Earlier tonight, when Cruz and I were washing Tituan, not exactly a pleasure cruise, my son is well over 6 feet tall, and Cruz is a cross between a matchstick and a Q-tip. So I was managing as best I could, rolling him onto one side and then the other. She was trying to help, though the truth is it's pretty hard for her to take. I mean, it's all new to her. It can't be that much fun. So she was muttering religious mumbo-jumbo to herself in Spanish, Dios mío and whatnot. And just as I was rolling Tituan onto his back onto his back, guess what? He got an enormous erection. Oh, God. For once you start to laugh, your passenger joins in. The two of you enjoy a good long laugh. Seems like that's what she needs. After a while, your passenger manages to catch her breath. A big old hard-on. How did Cruz react? First, she turned bright red, and then she pulled the sheet up over him as fast as she could. Your passenger marks a short pause to emphasize what's coming. But it looked even worse, just like Casper the Ghost. Peals of warm laughter fill the air. For a moment, you're happy, as if a weight had been lifted. You pull up to the address she had given you. You stop the cab, and she hands you the fare. Thanks for the conversation. The ride went by really fast. She reaches for the door, then stops. You can sense she's really on edge. It's good to be able to talk. It's pretty unusual in Paris to meet someone so warm. Good luck. She shrugs automatically as if she didn't understand what you meant. Same to you. She shuts the door carefully, then walks away. Your eyes follow her as she climbs the steps to the door of her building. A moment later, she's gone. As you start the cab, you catch sight of something on the back seat, a Kleenex. You wriggle around to pick it up. Read it. You unfold the handkerchief. You see the word Patricia and a phone number written inside. Hell yeah. You look up at the building and smile. You notice a newspaper on the back seat. Your last passenger must have left it behind, or the one before. You grab it and put it away. Could come in handy. You turn the key in the ignition and drive away. All right, take the profits. So we need to read the newspaper. Okay, Herv's gone. That sucks. Let's see. So yeah, they can disappear between rides. They don't just sit there all night. Good to know. Okay, we need to go talk to this one because this dude gives us a lot of evidence, if I remember correctly. If I remember correctly, this is the dude who asks for a bunch of cash for his evidence. You park a few streets away from the Argentinian embassy. You wait there for your contact. You sigh. It seems so odd to have a contact. It's so excessive. The guy is one of your regulars' poker buddies, a night watchman at the embassy. You get out of your taxi and walk towards the big metal gate. Clean lines, early 20th century, maybe. Lots of wrought iron. The gate opens and someone moves towards you. They indicate you should follow them. The person's face is hidden by an oversized hoodie. Your heart starts beating faster. What if it was... Yeah, just follow him. You know who it is. You walk into a narrow covered passageway, probably the entrance to a parking garage. The man turns around and lights up a cigarette. The lighter lights up his face for a second. A young man with curly hair, pale skin. He looks young, very young. That'll be 250 euros. For the intel? Yeah, for the intel. He laughs, a strange guttural sound. What'd you think this was, a date? You want information on Gordischer? I got info on Gordischer. And it'll cost you 250 euros. So what'll it be? He does not bargain. I'll just pay him. For that price, you hope the intel is good. You pay. Listen up, because I'm not gonna say it twice. Gordischer is definitely a colonel from the junta, one of the few who wasn't arrested and put on trial. He is responsible for torturing dozens of political opponents. He tortured and killed them. You know, we don't like him much here, but the rich Argentinians in Paris love him. They really respect him. Respected him. The difference doesn't seem important to him. Yeah, if it makes you happy. He looks back at you. There's one last thing. I read in the newspaper the killer wrote a message in chalk. Time's up. It was a slogan at the end of the junta. A sort of watchword from the opponents. It was time for them to go. You get it? You nod. A second later, you're back in your taxi with a hole in your wallet with new information on one of the victims. If you follow this lead, maybe your investigation will move forward. You start the car and get back to your shift. All right. Okay, let's go pick this person up. I'm going to wait until early in the morning to read the newspaper. Before we're forced to go back to our... Sorry, was that showing the route she needs to go? Okay. I'm going to the 17th. Nina Ishiguro. I'm not sure if I've talked to her before. The door opens and your next passenger, a woman, jumps into the back seat. We have talked to her before. Rue de Levis. Her voice is shaking. Her mind is elsewhere. Please. You start driving. In the rearview mirror, you notice your passenger is shivering. She is clenching a rose in her hands like it might otherwise fly away. Everything okay? She doesn't hear your question. Insist. Miss? No. No? No, I said no. Finally, she looks at you. He asked me to marry him, and I said no. He had everything planned. He put the ring in my champagne flute, and I said no. She blinks her eyes very slowly. I don't know why I said no. Panic? Why? Her expression becomes scornful, aggressive. You don't want to get married? No, I mean, no, She's almost frozen. Some time goes by. She's like a freeze frame, a movie on pause. I want to get married. I always dreamed of a wedding, of the kind of life. Her head wobbles. Her elegant facial features cloud over briefly. I think... She looks back quietly. Her voice breaks. I have to go back to the restaurant. Getting married is what I've always wanted. So why did I say no? Get the impression she's shrinking. She looks tiny and fragile in the rearview mirror. Shit. Shit. I just said shit. Her face looks like she's just been in a brutal accident. We have to turn around now. Are you sure? Of course I'm sure. She's practically screaming. What up? She stops just in time, shuts her mouth, looks away. She doesn't dare look at you. I'm so sorry. I'm not myself tonight. No worries. Really, I'm sorry. I don't know who I am. She's putting on airs now. I'm a total wreck. Like someone shook me. Like, please turn the cab around. Will do. Thanks, But she decides not to finish her sentence after all. As soon as you can, you turn around. In the back seat, your passenger can't bear to look at you. She studies her hands instead. You drive on in silence. It's strange, but you like that odd feeling of going back over the same road. Everything seems so different. The passers-by are no longer the same. They've been replaced by others. The lights are on a different cycle, like they know you're coming back. A few seconds later, without even noticing the ground you'd covered, you pull over in front of the restaurant you just came from. She throws you a shy, almost indiscernible smile. Can I ask you a favor? You nod slowly. Don't ever repeat what I said. Of course. And in a whisper, she adds, thanks. She pays her fare, gets out of the cab, walks up to the restaurant. She's trying to catch someone's eye. She stands like that for a minute on tiptoe, her head leaning toward the dining room. Then she walks into the restaurant. Her rose is left behind in the doorway. Wait a while. Another minute to think about her beautiful gown, her words, how she shook. Getting married. For a second, you try to remember your own marriage proposal. It all seems so far away. So very far away. And you turn the key in the ignition and drive away. All right. There is one of the suspects. The lawyer. Saint Owen. You immediately recognize the passenger who just climbed into the back seat of your cab. His face has been plastered all over the news for the last few weeks. He's a lawyer who is representing a terrorist. He gives you an address and you start driving. He holds your gaze in the rearview mirror like he's trying to read your mind. You drive across a virtually empty Paris. Behind you, the lawyer nervously consults his notes. Everything all right? He answers without looking up. Yes. You get the message and leave him alone. You continue driving without saying a word. Your passenger mutters, "Ugh, why did he say that to the cops? He's not taking this seriously. Doesn't get it. Idiot." There again, he says it again. Ugh. Is he contradicting himself or just... You glance in your mirror. The lawyer looks like a smaller version of himself. See, here's what I'm hoping. We talk to him early. He comes back later and we talk to him some more. Because in our first attempt at this case, we didn't talk to him till like the last night. You're sure everything's all right? He closes his eyes and remains silent for a while. You see him start to break. I can't take it anymore. He takes a deep breath. He loses control of his voice. This guy's a real asshole. He's not just a monster. He's a total idiot. Tears form at the corners of his eyes. I've never seen such a moronic defendant. You know what it's like to defend a moron? You know what it's like to get only 3 hours of sleep a night so you can defend a fucking moron? Do you have any idea? He yells so loudly the windows shake. Are you talking about... Yes, of course I'm talking about him. Who else? Who else could I possibly be talking about? You've seen my face in all the magazines, all the papers, right? His voice teeters, blind with rage. That's me, the terrorist's best friend, a traitor to his country. He pauses barely, just the time to take a deep breath. Jesus effing Christ already. He kicks the seat in front of him. Jesus. He calms himself down. He steadies his breath. I'm the one who agreed to it. I actually fought to represent him. It's my own damn fault I'm being dragged through the mud. He raises his hand. Snickers. Yeah, I'll admit it. At first I thought it was pretty great. Being on TV, all the interviews, journalists asking my opinion about everything. I shook so many hands, said so many words, sentences, yet I actually said nothing. When I worked in the hood, not a single person cared about my work. And now, in 5 hours, I have to be on the radio. In 7 on TV. He pauses, breathes, his voice sounds further and further away. You should get some rest. He chuckles. Rest? No way. Actually, it's simple. I almost never sleep. When I lie in bed, I stare at the ceiling and go over the evidence in my head. He sits up. It's barbaric, disgusting, so horrific it's almost unreal. He lets out a sigh from somewhere deep in his body. And then I discover my client bought nails, the nails that were in the bombs, at the corner market, and he kept the receipt. He kept the fucking receipt. Folded it in half and slipped it into his wallet. That's when I close my eyes, disemboweled bodies and a receipt for €2 worth of nails. Why? He raises his voice quite high. Why, for God's sake? He thought he could expense it when he got to heaven? He pauses. So stupid and so dangerous. He disgusts me. He revolts me. Someone has to defend him. That's exactly what I told myself when I agreed to represent him. That's exactly why my firm is losing clients every day. That's exactly why people insult me and spit on me in the street. His fit of rage subsides, his fingers are shaking. When I signed on, I thought I'd be representing someone crazy, and I find out he's just a moron who's played too many video games. The guy has never even read the holy book they used to justify their so-called acts of martyrdom. He read a few passages online. Passages online. Do you have any idea what a complete moron he is? He chuckles. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. I shouldn't have said all that. He takes a deep breath. I don't have anyone else to talk with about it. All the other lawyers avoid me like the plague. My mother can't understand why I'm doing this. She's so ashamed she went back to Algeria. He's shaking. I get the shame. What I don't get is when people just lump things together. I'm not a terrorist. I'm not a murderer. You made the right choice. The right choice? You're a lawyer. You have to defend him. I mean, especially since you agreed to take the case. And also, he deserves representation. Maybe guilty, but he deserves it. That's the way it works. Laughter echoes in the back of his throat. I barely had the choice. I couldn't let injustice triumph. Everyone has the right to counsel, to stand trial, to have a fair trial. Even terrorists. Even morons. His anger is back, but this time around he's got it under control. We could hang him right here, right now, and no one, I'm telling you, would shed a tear. He stays quiet for a moment, catches your gaze. That's why I keep doing this. For equality, our country was founded on it. These rights have been abused far too often for me to look the other way. His anger seems to be lifting. The taxi has almost reached its destination. In the back seat, the lawyer is much calmer. His voice is soft. I need to be reminded of this. This will serve as a lesson. He looks at you in the mirror and bores into you with his gaze. It's odd, isn't it? That I ran into you tonight. I mean, as if. Nah, forget it. You pull over, he pays his fare. Wait, don't take this the wrong way, but he hands you another bill. Here, this is for you, for listening, for hearing what I had to say. I mean, I'll take it. You slide the bill into your pocket. He looks relieved, gathers his belongings strewn across the back seat. As he's getting out of the cab, you realize he left an envelope behind. For a second, one tiny second, you hesitate. It could be something important. I'm very curious. I want to see what it says. But this dude, I want to see if I can talk to him later. And if he thinks I stole this envelope, he's not going to be forthcoming later. He's going to be pissed. You forgot something. He freezes, notices the envelope, and grabs it hastily. You can tell he's uncomfortable. He doesn't say another word. He gets out of the taxi, walks a few steps away, and turns around to wave at you before entering a bistro. You drive off. All right, let's see. There's the cosplay kid. Okay, we've talked to her before. I think we'll pick this dude up. We've never talked to him. And I'm sure there'll be opportunities to see that lady again later. She showed up a couple times. I missed the last train. I'm going to St. Ouen. That's not very far, dude. You pull up to the sidewalk to pick up the passenger who ordered a cab. You can just make him out, surrounded by 5 or 6 cops, an all too familiar scene. Every so often, the low, ominous tones of an officer's voice makes it to your ear. The circle of cops breaks up. You see your passenger. He heads over to the cab and gets in. He slams the door and lets rip. Motherfucking cops. He gives you his address and you start the car. The passenger stares out the window at the passing road as if to calm himself. You take a quick look in the rearview mirror. Why is there a heart? Everything all right? Yeah, sure. They're afraid to lay a finger on us nowadays, don't want to get blown up. An ironic half smile appears on his face, then immediately disappears. He knows a bad joke when he hears one. What a fucking pain in the ass. Can't go out without getting screwed by each and every one of those sons of bitches. If you're not wearing a goddamn beret, if you happen to be wearing street pants, then yeah, right, you're a fucking hood. He smirks wryly, then raises his voice an octave. Your papers, please. He sighs, his voice back to normal. Yeah, sure, shove your aunt's cock up your friggin' ass, buddy. What the hell? It's an interesting insult. Always the same old thing, innit? The passenger looks at you and lets out a bitter laugh. You can say that again. Even the Arabs treat us like shit when they're wearing a uniform. A slow smile spreads over his face. You know what's worse? He pulls a paperback out of his jacket pocket. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. They wouldn't believe it was my book. He returns it to his pocket right away. For a second, you wonder if you imagined it. The first thing they asked me was where I had stolen it. Damn. You know, like there was no way I could own a book. Then the bastards took the book and flipped through it every single page to make sure I wasn't hiding anything like hash or some other shit. He flinches, something in his features breaks, a crack has appeared. He's trying not to show it, but you see what's going on. You can't help it. The inner struggle, the humiliation, the sense of shame. It's just a book. You like it? He looks up. Yeah, well, it's kind of like a revenge story, like all the Hollywood movies we download so we don't have to pay for a ticket. Except that it takes place 200 years ago. And yeah, it's good. It really is. It really sucks what happens to the hero guy, and he spends the whole book planning his revenge big time. The guy's pretty messed up. He catches your eye in the rearview mirror. He realizes he's not all worked up anymore. It's my, girlfriend who gave it to me. Eh, what else did she recommend? Well, believe me, man, it was pretty rough at first. First, she got me to read this book, Pride and something or other, some English book. Pride and Prejudice? Yeah, that's it. You read it too? I saw the movie a long time ago. Pause. They made a movie? Shit, I should have watched it. I didn't get through the whole thing, but she didn't mind. After she got me to read something by Balzac, and after the Count of Monte Cristo, she really wants me to read this book. He rolls his eye. By some Belgian woman, I think. You shrug. Who my girlfriend says wrote a book about this Roman emperor and his boyfriend, and that it's really amazing. He laughs to himself. I better not get caught by the cops with that one in my pocket. Or by my friends, for that matter. He looks up, smiling. She forced me a little, and then I realized that Monte Cristo, he's one of us. I mean, his story, it's a lot like what goes on today. But I introduced her to new stuff too. There are these texts, you know, rap lyrics that she really likes. You should see her putting on a show and all, but the truth is she actually likes it. It's the same thing with reading, right? I mean, it had to be properly explained to me. I had to want to try it. But that was it, man. I was on my way. He looks down. But it's pretty crazy even so. I'm actually reading a book. I still can't believe it. The book and my girlfriend. His eyes sparkle. Some chicks really change your life, don't they? You nod your head slowly. You pull up at the address given by your fare. He lets out a sigh. You know, man, I don't know why the hell I just told you all that. No worries. It must be a real bummer, all these guys telling you their life stories. The passenger passes you the money for the ride. I have to go. I punch in early tomorrow. He pauses, eyeing the time on the radio's LCD display. Or later on, I should say. A moment later, he vanishes into the night. I'll take it. Oh, that dude. Who's up there with you? There's somebody behind you. Like, I don't give two shits about the dude in front. He's a dick. I'm gonna try to get the one behind him. Looks new. Oh, game's twitching out there. Oh, it's Herv. Let's go, Herv. 28.66, but he's not gonna pay me. The door opens. It's Herv, a homeless man like hundreds of others in Paris. You've known each other for years, and every now and then he asks a favor of you to drive him someplace. As usual, he greets you quietly, though he always seems a little on edge. Hey, buddy. What's up, pup? He has a strange verbal tick that you've never really understood. You start the cab. Herv seems pretty happy with himself today. In the rearview mirror, you watch him run his tongue over his lips, as if mentally preparing for a good meal. He catches your eye and smile. Sorry, I'm a bit out of it today. So I see. I've just had a bad week, a really bad week. Then yesterday. He hesitates as if he can't believe what he's about to say, like it's too good to be true. The lines around the corners of his eyes that show his real age crinkle slightly. Herv gives a little laugh. Serious, man, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in all that bullshit shit. It doesn't make any sense. Some guy with a beard up in the sky, I never got it, what people saw in him. Anyhow, God, none of us believe in him on the street. His eyes crinkle up at the corners again. I mean, we believe when the soup kitchen goes to the church. Yeah, sure, we believe in him then. He flashes his teeth and lets out a harsh, raspy laugh. A pause. So, yesterday? Yesterday? He's observing you. His eyes light up all of a sudden. Oh yeah, yesterday. He's talking faster now, an incessant flow. I was starving, man. It was pretty bad. Toby and I had gone through all the garbage bins in the neighborhood. Toby, he's this German guy. He says he prefers France, that we're more generous here. So I was starving. Herv's eyes tear up, his voice drops off. A faraway look comes over him. A lengthy pause. You okay, Herv? He snaps out of it. Yeah, like I was saying that, yeah, I was starving. I was hanging out near the supermarket on Rue Remusat. Fancy neighborhood, but not too fancy, no cops. He gives you a wink. That's always a plus. And then there was this guy I sometimes see around, a young guy, like just a kid, He comes out of the supermarket with his groceries, and before I even say a word, he hands me a can of cassoulet. A can of cassoulet as big as a beach ball. Herv's face lights up. I didn't even know they made them that big. Herv bursts out laughing and his eyes wander back to the street. Was it good? Delicious. Shiz. He closes his eyes, raises his hands, and waggles his fingers. I love it when the cassoulet sausage is all mushy and it melts in your mouth. Don't even need to warm it up. A smile spreads over his face. Meat mash. He opens his eye. Something out the window catches his eye. Herv suddenly pats you on the shoulder. Hold on, wait. I'm gonna get out here if you don't mind. You park the cab as soon as you see an empty space. Thanks, man. He's looking out the window. Yeah, I think that's him. Who? Nothing. Without another word, he opens the door and gets out. This time, I'm gonna get him. A moment later, he vanishes into a dark alley. What the hell? Sit there a minute. Your eyes scan the dark, narrow street, but you can't make anything out. Then something moves in the distance, a silhouette, probably Herv, now at a run. The form darts under a street lamp. It is Herv, holding something in his hand. He immediately vanishes from sight. You sit there a minute and then you switch on the ignition and pull out of the parking space. I see. Yeah, see, he doesn't pay us, like, ever. Okay, I think I'm gonna pick this lady up. And then we are going to read the newspaper. I think we've seen her show up before, but I've never picked her up. Charles de Gaulle Airport. Yep, let's do it. Oh no, we have talked to her. Your passenger slips into the back seat, dragging a backpack that apparently weighs a ton. You want to put that in the trunk? She refuses politely with a shake of the head. Thanks, but I'm gonna have to get used to keeping it with me. It's gonna be on my back for an entire month. You smile and start the cab. A glance in the rearview mirror. Your passenger's rather young and the camera around her neck looks very expensive. Her backpack, scarf, and clothes are fairly worn. Where you heading? She doesn't answer right away. She lowers her eyes. I'm on my way to Greece to join an NGO rescue vessel. An association, that is, that helps migrants trying to make the crossing. And I'm gonna do a story on them. Oh, you a journalist? She smiles the first since you set off. Yes, a photojournalist. They make the crossing even in the winter? They make the crossing whenever they get the chance, regardless of the time of year or the weather. The EU just closed its surveillance and rescue program. Only non-governmental associations are doing anything to help now. So I'm on my way. I volunteered. I even made a fuss to get the assignment. Her tone of voice is increasingly shrill. I read first-hand accounts. I talk to journalists who have worked on the subject. I can't just ignore the whole thing. She gives a short laugh. I even played a video game about refugees. Beautifully done. Really powerful. I knew I couldn't just sit back and watch. This was my chance to show the world what's going on there. Your passenger's phone starts to ring. Oh, sorry, As she glances at the caller name, her face freezes. She sighs, a troubled smile flickering across her face, then takes the call. Hi, Dad. I'm in the cab, right? Yeah, I told you, I tried. But he wouldn't change his mind. Come on, Dad. I already told you I'll be fine. They wouldn't be sending me there if there were. She moves the phone a bit farther from her ear. Come on, Dad, stop. Dad? Listen, everything's gonna be fine. I'll be there for 20 days with a group of professionals who have been doing this for years. That's right, a group of rescue professionals. Would you just stop? She sighs heavily. It's no use. She's been down this road 1,000 times. Help her out. We're about to get to a tunnel, mademoiselle. You're gonna cut out. The woman looks up at you in surprise, then her face lights up. Did you hear that? I have to go. I'll call you back as soon as She's interrupted again. That's right, I'll call back. She hangs up wide-eyed and breathes a long sigh. My parents, they can be a little much. She smiles. Anyhow, thanks for jumping in there. You can sense the tension, the wave of frustration and anxiety welling up in her. Her unhappiness and anxiety are palpable. She closed her eyes, collecting her thoughts, trying to dispel her negative emotions. If only I had a little time. Time for what? Time to do yoga. Yeah. There must be a yoga room somewhere in the airport. I can pull over if you'd like. She looks at you closely, not sure what to think. What do you mean? There's a gas station up ahead, a rest area for truck drivers. There won't be anyone there right now. All right, sure, why not? There's no more talk for a few minutes. Your passenger glances out the window every now and then. You drive past the gas station, the main building, the trucks, then get to a small, quiet rest area. A clearing lit up by your headlights and the moon suddenly appears. There's no one around, the air is cool, the young woman leans in towards you. Is this a place? You nod. It's incredibly calm, as if we were in the middle of the woods. Her eyes take in every detail, every tree and bush. You come here often? Whenever I can. She nods, she understands. It's so quiet, even in the middle of winter, it looks so peaceful. She reaches for the door handle. You won't leave without me, will you? Of course not. She gets out of the cab and puts her things on a picnic table. The wind is chilly, she shivers. She gives you one last look, then closes her eyes. For a minute or two, you watch her doing yoga exercises. Her eyes remain closed, her face gradually starts to relax. A truck behind you pulls out of the rest area. This place has a calming effect on you too. Some summer nights you come here to take a nap. The young woman is stretching now. The headlights cast soft shadows among the dark foliage. In the winter, you smoke a cigarette or two, waiting for potential clients to land. The young woman gets back in the cab. She says nothing, there's no need. You can sense she's recovered her calm and is ready to face the rest of her journey. You drive away, leaving behind the clearing, the rest area, the gas station. The young woman is sleeping. The road keeps passing by, and before long, you're approaching the airport. A moment later, you turn down the radio. The song fades. I'll pull up over here. It'll be easier for you to get out of the cab. Get to the airport drop-off zone. A couple of colleagues greet you with a wave. A few bleak-looking passengers struggling with huge suitcases and car trunks. A security guard sitting on a luggage cart smokes a cigarette, clearly exhausted. Your passenger pays the fare, collects her things, but doesn't leave the cab. Thank you for get me out of that horrible phone call. I love my parents, but they're suffocating. Could have gone on for hours, so thank you. I have to go now. I have the feeling my parents are going to call again. Might as well go in where it's warm and I'm not a disturbance. Take good care of yourself. I will, promise. She gets out of the cab with all her gear. Your eye follows her as she heads to the terminal. The airport doors close behind her. You sit there for a minute or two all by yourself. There's no one around, may as well head out as soon as possible. That is a lot of new people. But apparently we have to go back to our house. Yeah, at least it didn't drop as much. I got Patricia's number. Hell yeah. Show me evidence. At the foot of your front door, just behind a drain pipe, you notice an envelope. It was thick and heavy. You can just make out your name written in thick black marker. Your real name. All right, let's see the new clues. Bus goes by, making the walls shake. You glance at your bed and get to work. I don't have enough time to do those other 2 clues. Okay. Let's look at the cork board. What do we get? So these are the ones that don't match anything yet. Okay, victim 3, known to have tortured prisoners. So this is all linked to her. Now, here's the thing. Here's the contradicting information we're getting. The killer's height is more than 1.80 meters. However, none of these people qualify. So, yeah. Well, that's all we can do for now, so let's continue. Victim 2, stolen wallet. So they're gonna blame it on the homeless dude. Wipe your tired face. Events of the day go through your head. Your mind wanders for a second. Your eyes close and you can feel yourself drifting off until you hear a voice break out in the distance. He looks Tunisian. And then silence. You close your eyes without any idea where the voice is coming from. A second later, you're asleep. You open one eye. Your attention turns to shouting upstairs, a door slamming, typical. Okay. Let's go. Okay, we want to visit all these locations, but we also want to keep an eye out for potential what's it called? Potential clients. Or like also the suspects, but I've never spoken to you before. Let's go get her. Actually, I do think I've spoken to you. Are you the one with the cat? Ivry, please. No, you're not. You're older. Your next passenger's been crying. She stares at the floor and gives you an address in the nearby suburbs. You've just started driving when her telephone rings. The ringtone is familiar. Yes? There's a pause. Her tone is sharp and curt. Yes, I'm on my way home right now. She pauses, holds her breath. Yes. Another sound, another pause. She sounds annoyed. No, I took a taxi. On the other end, a voice gets louder. Who's paying? Well, I am. I don't want to take the bus home tonight. Come on, lay off. A new round of criticism begins. Look, can you just lay off? Yeah, we'll talk about it when I get back. She holds the phone away from her ear, ready to hang up, then pulls it back. Yes, I'm here. She finally glances at you. There's no need to scream. I can hear you. I told you. We'll talk about it when I get home. God damn. We're about to enter a tunnel, miss. She smiles. No, that was the driver saying we're going to be cut off. No, he seems normal. Mom. I said it's break. She hangs up. Thank you. You hear a ring, the same tune as before. The young woman hesitates, turns the phone over in her hand, and decides not to answer. Sorry. Not a problem. I know that tune. Her face lights up. It's Lack Me by Leo Delibes? I don't know. We gave a performance with this music. After hearing it so much, I just totally fell in love with it. It's such an incredibly soft piece. In the opera it comes from, the priestess Lack Me and one of her companions go to gather jasmine for the temple, and you sense the love between the characters. And it's mutual. The two women sing and their words are very similar, but not identical. You sing? No, I'm a dancer. Classical, jazz, and other various combinations. I've danced since I was a little girl, but I've been dancing even more these last few years. I love it. A friend and I did our own choreography to a few scenes from the Lakme opera once. We did a show. It was really exciting. The smile that appears on her face seems to have erased the tears. And thanks for earlier, by the way. I missed the last metro, and to be honest, I really didn't want to go home. My mother is waiting to have a long, very long discussion about my future, my career, all the sacrifices she's made for me. She's a cleaning woman in one of the fancy office buildings at La Défense, and I failed my bar exam, so she thinks... She stops herself. She was going to make a joke, but something keeps her from doing so. Her smile vanishes. She thinks I'll end up as a cleaning woman at La Défense. Your passenger sighs. She thinks I dance too much. She thinks it's Lakme's fault. But mostly she thinks it's my fault. She heaves a huge sigh and stares at nothing outside. I studied. I worked hard, but I didn't pass. I just don't believe in all that anymore. Now be warned, what I'm about to say will sound cliche, but I want to be a dancer, not a lawyer. My mother doesn't understand. You must work to earn money in order to succeed. She takes a deep breath. Sorry, I didn't mean to unload on you. I must seem like a pretentious little princess. Really, not at all. Thanks. Thanks for lying. Wasn't lying. I honestly don't think you do. She smiles. The address she gave you is not much farther. I mean, I know I owe my mother a lot. I have to stop being so self-centered, blah, 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 and I have to pass this fucking exam. She clicks her tongue as if to force herself to stop talking. Instead, she keeps going. Mind you, she came to my Lakme performance. She pauses, tries to find her words. She saw me dance, and when we left, it's kind of dumb, but she didn't say a single word. And I think I've never felt prouder. Her silence spoke 1,000 words. You pull up to her house. She takes her time getting out of the car. I don't know why I said all that, but it felt really good. Thank you. She disappears. Her tears have definitely vanished. Thank you. I'll take that cash. Oh, hell, there ain't nobody down here. And only one client on the entire map. All right. Let's go talk to this kid, and then we'll probably hit up some of those points of interest. And the game really glitches out when you're near the edge of the map, doesn't it? Now, it's not really glitching out, but that little vibrate-y thing. Gonna have to stop and put in gas soon. And get another newspaper and actually read this one right off the bat. I'm going to the 13th arrondissement. I think that's how you pronounce that. The passenger getting into the cab smells like alcohol. There's a feeling of sadness about her. She gives you her address and you start the car. They settle into an unsurprising, standard conversation: climate change, politics, the price of real estate in Paris. But then someone mentions a serial killer. You lean in to listen. A rumor. Could be of help. The passenger pulls out her phone, but the screen remains off. You glance back at her in the rearview mirror every now and then. She's clearly upset, uneasy, sad. All of a sudden, she speaks to you. She has a deep, soft-spoken voice. Excuse me, do you think texting to say you had a nice evening, like, just 10 minutes after you saw someone, it might seem a bit desperate, no? You smile. Clearly, you're not an expert on the subject. I don't think so. No, I don't think that's desperate. Really? She gives you a smile. Well, I guess, anyhow. She immerses herself in her telephone and quickly types a message that she immediately sends. There, I'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, just don't pester afterwards. It's fine to just say you had a good time. Just don't, like... Yeah. Now, just leave it be until the next day. There, I'll just have to wait and see. She sighs. I really liked meeting that girl. Super nice. I've been in Paris for 8 years now. 8 years. And it's hard, incredibly hard. Her voice falters. And there's so many people in Paris, too. You should see them. I do a lot of work in law firms. They're bursting with attractive women. But there's so much shame. And denial. Most are uncomfortable, lost. I get it when you're 20, but when you're 30? Her eyes widen in dismay. Anyhow, who am I to say? I wasn't any better when I was 20, right? I'm surprised that's all, and fed up. The passenger suddenly realizes she's oversharing. Sorry, I don't know why I'm telling you all this. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. Her eyes light up. Thanks for listening. Yeah, keep talking if you want. When I got to Paris, I thought I was going to meet a nice group of women at last, to go out and have fun. And all I found was more of the same. Girls who were inhibited, hung up, afraid, who don't want to commit. That girl tonight, she just wanted to go out for a drink because she was bored. That's why we met up so late. She didn't have anything to do at home, so... She didn't put it that way, of course, but I knew. Dates today are so... My friends who are older talk about the bars they went to back in the day, the metro, the underground scene, glances exchanged in the metro. Me, I'm happy just getting an emoji. Pretty pathetic. Here it is, her text. Glad to have met you. Her voice trails off. But it's best if we leave it at that. She pauses. Signed, women raising hand emoji. She turns her face away, eyes glued to the passing scenery. Yep. She answers with an almost imperceptible nod of the head, her eyes fixed intently on the road. Thanks. Luckily, there are the dating apps. We talk, try to get to know each other. Sometimes we can't help it, and we sleep together out of sheer necessity. But our real needs are never actually fulfilled. She falters, and uncomfortable silence ensues. Mine aren't, anyhow. She smiles. You near the address your passenger had given you. Her face clouds over. She lets out a sigh. You park in front of her building. She pays the fare, thanks you warmly, but is unable to open the car door as if her strength had deserted her. Sorry, I just need a second, another second. Take your time. She nods, breathing out, straightening herself almost imperceptibly. Okay then. Emoji woman raising hand says goodbye. She gives you a smile and gets out of the cab. Your eyes follow her as she walks over to the building. A moment later, she's gone. All right. We need to get to a gas station. Because I would not be able to handle another long fare. The gas station, fill up, grab a newspaper, read the newspaper, because the newspaper does give us clues. And then go to one of these locations. Then we'll start picking people up again. Yeah, dude, I know how a gas station works. Jesus, that's expensive. We were pretty much empty. Hi. Give me a lottery ticket. I win €1. Woohoo. All of a sudden, tonight doesn't seem so bad. Really? For €1? Talk with the clerk. Have you read the papers? He's all they're talking about. Just an offhand comment casually brought up about the serial killer. The guy behind the counter seems like he's interested in the case. We got another clue. Cool. Please come back or soon. Let's go. Okay, so we have Herv again. Who I want to talk to, but I need to hit one of these places up. And some weird crap was going on with Herv, so man. Damn it, Herv, let's go. Yeah, I need a ride, cabby. Okay, well, it's close, so I don't mind. The door opens. It's Herv. He greets you with his bizarre verbal tick as usual. Hey, good to see you again, Gin. Hi, Herv. You start the engine. You look in the rearview mirror and you realize that the homeless man is clutching his left side. Well, all right already, Freddy. Is everything all right? He gives you a vague answer. Yeah, sure, fine. A pause. He can't help making a face. Insist. You're really not looking that great. Don't worry. I got in a little fight last night with this guy. That's all taken care of now. All taken care of. He smiles, revealing a row of bad teeth. You don't want to see a doctor? Your passenger straightens up immediately. No way. I'm never setting foot in the hospital again. Oh, because Rictadin, that medicine scandal that fucked up his life. Either they don't want to treat you because you stink, but that at least I get. Or they pack you off to a social worker. His mouth twists into a funny pucker as if he were about to spit. They mean well and all, but I just want to be left alone. I don't want to be put in some crummy apartment out in the middle of nowhere. If you leave the street, you lose your spot. It's that simple. His mouth stays open for a moment. You know, there are guys who tell you they chose the street and all that. As for me, that's not the case, Ace. That doesn't mean I want to be saved. I'm not one of those kids, the ones on TV in the 80s, you know what I mean? You pretend to understand. Make a donation. They need you. Need your money. Well, I'm not asking for anything. I live my own life. Yes, I do. Ooh. He stares blankly. Sometime later, your passenger clears his throat. You wouldn't happen to have a little something to drink, would you? You know, like they do in those newfangled cabs these days? Chauffeur-driven cars. Yeah, that's right, right? I don't have anything, sorry. He nods. I don't mean water, you know. You smile. I realized that. Ah. He sighs. Usually, you're not such a pain. I'm a little worried about you, dude. He opens his mouth to say something, then stops short. Yeah, I know, man. Sorry. He gives you a black look. Questions, you know, I've got those morning, noon, and night. I'm sick and tired of them. He loses himself in thought. As you drive along, you see him struggling to keep his eyes open. They are more often shut than open now. Turn up the heat. Your passenger's head jerks back up. Ah, you are really a good guy, you know, yo. Your passenger gives you a sleepy smile. Hey, serious, you don't mind if I get a little shut-eye on the way, do you? You nod. Enjoy. He gives you a smile, but it's still a painful grimace. Next thing you know, he's sound asleep. You continue to drive in silence, soothed by the warm air of the car heater. You pull up in front of a nondescript gray building. Your passenger immediately wakes up and looks around. Shit, this is great. I'm first. Where are we? An organization that hands out clothes for winter. I heard they were going to open a pause. He's searching for the right word. A new shop, you could say. And I am the first one, huh? When does it open? 2 days from now. Your eyes widen. Your passenger gives a little laugh. Don't worry, I have plenty to keep me busy. He pats his pants pocket. I found some books, one on yoga and then a book by that old handsome dude. You know, the guy who talks on radio? It'll help pass the time. He gives you a tap on the shoulder. He reaches for the door and stops short, overcome with a spasm of pain. Fuck. Are you okay? Yeah, don't worry. Ooh. He doesn't want to go to the hospital, but he needs to go to the hospital. I have to. No, I'm good. He opens the door and climbs gingerly out. And thanks for turning up the heat. That was nice. Next thing you know, he's disappeared down a dark side street. You sigh and start the cab. Yep, we don't get paid when we take Herb somewhere. Ah, the poet's the only one left. Well, we're gonna go to this location first. And then we'll probably read the newspaper. You leave your taxi behind and walk towards the last victim's building. Charles Beaugrain Ferrer was killed in his parking garage. Large metal doors firmly closed. Can I? Oh, I can't save. Yeah, this is a rough one because if we look for another entrance, I think we need to wait for a car. On your left, there's a shady corner where you can discreetly keep an eye on the door without being seen. Yeah, when I looked for another entrance last time, the dude running the place caught me and I had to leave. You grin and bear it. From time to time, you jump in place to warm yourself up. Your hiding place is probably the same one the killer used a few weeks ago. With each passing minute, you sense his presence until the garage door starts to shake, the metal slats start to rise, a car suddenly bursts out of the garage. You take the opportunity to slip inside. Your eyes take a few seconds to adjust to the darkness. You head down the ramp into the garage. There are about 30 spots and almost all of them are full. Well, it's the middle of the night, so people are asleep. The cars are very nice, sedans, convertibles, a bright red sports car. You're in a wealthy neighborhood. According to the police report, Charles Beaugrain Ferrer was murdered right here in this empty parking spot. He used to be a notorious leader of the right-wing extremist party. When he was murdered at age 84, long after retiring from politics, it was a surprise for everyone. You light up this crime scene with a flashlight on your phone. There's still a brown stain on the wall in front of you. The message written in chalk has been washed up. A voice rings out in the garage. Hey, what are you doing? This is private property. You turn around and see a rather elderly man, probably the concierge. He shines his flashlight in your direction. I'm a journalist. I'm lost? Taxi driver pissed him off last time. I'm a fan. Probably just sounds creepy. So journalist or I'm lost. I don't know that I'm lost works when I'm in the garage. I'm a journalist. A journalist? Yes, I'm doing a story on the judge and his victims, including Mr. Beaugrain Ferrer. He hesitates. I'm sorry, but I'm not at liberty to tell you anything. I'll just need 2 minutes of your time. He nods nervously, or maybe in fright. Hey, Stahor, welcome. You have trouble making out his face, but you can see his eyes bug out. Go, get out of here before I call the cops. You walk back up the ramp towards the exit. The concierge opens the garage door. As you step outside, you hear the concierge say, if I see you lurking around again, I'm calling the cops. You make your way back to your cab. You glance back at the building. The furious concierge is gone. You settle in behind the wheel, short of breath. Okay, that doesn't work. Seems like we either need to say we're lost or... Yeah, weird. Okay, I don't think any of you guys are our suspects currently, which means I am okay just popping out the newspaper. You pull a newspaper out of your glove compartment and start leafing through it. Eventually, something grabs your eye. It's a quite involved article about the infamous police leaks affair. Who, why, and how all that confidential data was released to the public. The Justice Department is now looking at corrupt and violent cops who are known to be out of line. Concerned associations applaud how transparent they are being. So why isn't anybody getting Busette? She's corrupt and violent. Yet the more you read, the more you get the impression the journalist does not agree with their methods. Turn the page and stop. You've read about a third of the paper. Keep reading. Finish it off. You stop reading and go back a few pages. You thought you saw something. It's a short article mentioning the strike led by a handful of employees of Confiseries de Mirai, a luxury candy brand. The employees demand better wages. The owners, the group Diamant, are threatening to relocate their factories abroad. You only have a third left to read. Read the whole damn thing, damn it. As soon as you get to the page, you stop. Your instinct tells you to look at. It's a rather positive critique of a bar named Soleil. You make note of the information with interest. In your line of work, that kind of thing can always come in handy. You shut the paper. It'll end up in the trash tonight. If you remember, it's there. Cool. We still have time to do something else. Okay, none of you look like suspects. So, maybe let's head to one of these other locations. I like knocking these locations out as quickly as possible. The police archives look like any other building in Paris. No sign, nothing to make it stand out, but this is where all the case files and criminal records are stored. You know the place well. For several months, you spent a lot of time with the woman who directs it. She was a regular passenger, calling upon you almost every night, first as a driver, and then you can see her shape from across the street. You try to prevent your brain from going there, but it has a mind of its own. She's as beautiful as ever. You get out of the cab. You cross over to the sidewalk on the other side. I'm not gonna lie, I was surprised by your request. She lights a cigarette. She still has that cold, distant look about her. But you know it's just a facade. You don't smoke anymore? No, I'm trying to quit. She has trouble articulating with the cigarette in her mouth. Good luck with that. I just can't manage. She runs a hand through her hair. Her wedding band shines under the street lamp. You're freezing. Listen, I'm sure you know I'm not allowed to give you this kind of information. But if what you said was true, then you get the impression she's reaching for your side. You have any information for me? Yes, sorry, of course. Sorry, lady, you're married. Don't. Oh, no, we ain't going there. I fished around, and the first 3 data victims were not part of the data leak. Shit. Shit indeed. That means the information about Besson, Beaugrain, and the Argentinian one. Goradisher. Yeah, that's it. Goradisher. It all came from someone who had access to their criminal records. That help? You attempt to smile. Yeah, it's better than nothing. A moment of silence. Helene takes a drag of her cigarette like there's no tomorrow. She paces a bit to warm herself up. You should come over sometime. What do you think? You grin. You and Helene used to sleep together when things with her husband weren't so good. That wouldn't be a good idea. Not sleeping with a married lady. She turns her head away in a soft, graceful motion. Of course, I don't know why She looks deep into your eyes. You look down. Her hands are shaking. One last smile. She puts the cigarette out. I've got to run. Need a taxi? It's very kind of you, but Bruno's coming to pick me up in a little while. Good luck. She reaches out to you affectionately, then stops. You decide to cross the street to put some distance between you as quickly as possible. You get in your cab and rub your hands together. Time to get back to your shift. Yep, I don't care if that would get me more information later on, but yeah, we are not sleeping with a married woman. Wow, he is way the fuck out there. Good lord. All right, let's knock this last one out. I know we're not going to have many fares tonight, but I can focus on the fares the next day. You're driving along when a strange burnt smell suddenly fills the cab. You look around, sniff. Is it coming from outside? Park? As soon as you see a free spot, you pull over and park. You freeze. Something or someone is in your taxi. A woman's voice resonates around the cab. Janet, I can't. I need a better signal. What the hell? I'm here. I'm here. You turn around slowly. A young woman has appeared behind you. Don't shout. I'm afraid I'll lose the connection. I don't have much time. There's something strange about her face. It's as if she is several different people at once. Listen to me carefully. I come from the future, and you must know that you met. She stops moving like a computer glitch. She stays this way, still frozen. Then she suddenly starts moving again. We're good. I think it's all taken care of. She smiles at you. Thanks for the information. I really wish I could explain everything to you more clearly, and she starts flickering and disappears for a second. No, there's still something that cellular connection. She disappears for good. A few seconds go by. All appears to have returned to normal. What the fuck? You keep driving. Sorry, 40 seconds ago. Her voice is coming from the radio. Your passengers, if that's the correct term, voice is broken by an odd grumbling noise, like someone else is speaking at the same time. You can make out the young woman's voice. She's giving what seems to be a well-rehearsed speech. I don't even know what that option was. The virus appeared on September 18th, 2049. Remember that date. 2049, September 18th. Her voice disappears entirely. Instead, you hear what seems to be a liturgical chant in an Asian language on the same frequency. Leave it on? From then, half of the semester, just imagine millions, mountains of corpses. 20 years old back, I was fighting robots. What the fuck? I lost, knew, everybody. Quinn died. The virus attack's permanent. Her voice cuts off abruptly. The liturgical chant starts up again. You're able to determine the language. Vietnamese. Leave it on, damn it. Civil war, death, I'm guessing mutation. There were mass fascism, religious. We set the record straight about science. Science is. Her voice is drowned out by an avalanche of applause. You hear a new voice, deep, powerful. It's in English. American from what you can tell from the accent. Traveling back. If we created, we can destroy it. I need information. I need passengers. Reassure you, none of this. Anything more. Control to the past. Risk. Her voice is suddenly clearer than ever. I hope you understand. It's crucial for us that you... One moment, Yes. The strange young woman appears all of a sudden in the back seat again. Ah. Sorry about all the comings and goings. Our technology is not at 100% yet. The tiniest of smiles crosses her face. It's almost invisible. Anyway, I hope you got the point. Especially since we have to remain in hiding for the time being. She stops talking for a second. Her face flickers. They're after us. There's not really any other way to put it. As I was saying, the extremists are trying to... She vanishes out of the blue. The ether smell vanishes. The radio turns off. You pull over as soon as you see a free spot. You remain stiff for a while. She doesn't seem to be coming back. You shake your head, disturbed by this strange visitor, and get back to work. Okay. What about the person I was going to go pick up, or I was trying... Okay, there's no way I'm getting there before the end of the night. So, what do we want to pick up? You've been showing up a lot, this lady in the back here. Let's go talk to her. Like, she shows up constantly. I'm wondering if the game's trying to push this person. I'm heading to Charles de Gaulle Airport. Let's go. Your next passenger's alone and waiting for you on the sidewalk. She gets in the cab and whispers, hello. She has no handbags or suitcase, just a small handmade sign with an Indian name printed on it. Charles de Gaulle, please. She is young with a soft and slight accent. Her face shows no emotion. Her fingers play with the small gold chain around her neck. It is the only piece of jewelry she has on. You drive, glancing back at her from time to time. Her head seems to be elsewhere. Everything all right? She nods her head gently, cracking a tiny smile. It's really early. The first planes to come in are the worst. Everyone is exhausted and half asleep. Yes, exactly. And, she sighs, I must confess I don't really want to go there. A tiny smile lights her face up for a split second before disappearing. Ah, family? My future husband. Arranged marriage? Yeah. Well, future. I've never even met him. Her accent suddenly becomes stronger. You know this habit well. Just before confiding in you, passengers tend to relax into their natural accent. I'm sure he's a great guy, as they say here. Sadness appears in her voice. But I don't know him at all. My parents chose him. It's crazy, isn't it? Are you shocked? Honestly, I'm not, but we'll say yes. A sad smile washes briefly over her face. It's tradition, or at least it used to be. You know, you can still say no. It's tradition, or at least it used to be. My parents are a bit old school, even by current standards in India. Hey, guess what? Look around. You're not in India. I chose to study here and not in England like my sisters. She flashes a smile. I fell in love with Paris and decided to stay. I almost never go home. Actually, this is home now. Anyway, my parents insist I meet him. He decided to make the trip saying he had a meeting as a pretext. I mean, honestly, the middle one is what I believe. Trying to decide between it's unacceptable or say nothing, because I'm not going to say the top one. Yeah, I firmly believe the middle one, so that's what we're going to go with. It's unacceptable. No, you don't understand. This is just the way things are. No, they're really not. And I knew it would happen one day. They've been talking about it for ages. I try to avoid the subject. It's understandable from their perspective. I mean, it worked for them, right? You sense something bubbling up, anger, before she freezes. Some people refuse to let their emotions out. She slowly regains control of her body. What day trips would you recommend outside Paris? Nearby? She nods. Versailles, of course. It's really beautiful. Definitely worth it. Her face lights up. Oh yes, perfect. I'm sure he'll like that. Or there's Fontainebleau. There's a huge park, very wild, if he likes hiking. I don't really know. She smiles shyly. You prefer to say nothing. The airport is not much further. Something about the young woman makes you feel uncomfortable. She looks like as if she's about to scream, but is holding it in. Time passes and silence fills the cab. Which terminal? Your question startles her. Terminal C. 2C, I think. Is it an Indian airline? It's supposed to be a nice day out today. Or just nod. Trying to think of what would draw more conversation out of her. A smile crosses her face, then quickly disappears. Yes, I hope so. Thank you. You park the car in front of Terminal 2C. Your passenger grabs her sign and exits the cab. She pauses for a second as she were about to say something. Then she disappears. Yep. Alright. Game's not really going to let us do anything else right now. Like, I can try to pick this person up. But I think the time's going to run out before we even reach her. Lamont Pic, whatever that, however you pronounce that. Your next passenger slides into the cab and slams the door rather violently. Yeah, it doesn't look like the game does a lot of stuff about the fare like it should. So basically what I've been doing At the beginning of the stream, I mentioned that I was going to just play, and I think I mentioned it at the end of the last stream. I decided to play on just story mode rather than balanced. Because honestly, money doesn't seem to serve any purpose in this game, except to basically set you up to potentially fail. Like if you're not taking up enough fares. Because I feel like they put the fare system and the money system in so you could actually be encouraged to pick up as many fares as possible so you can talk to all these people out here. But a lot of them have nothing to do with the investigation, so it's like, I do like the stories from these people, but if they're not helping with the investigation, it's also like, so I kind of hate that if they're not going to help with the investigation, that it could cause me to fail the game by not talking to them, you know what I mean? They basically use that to make these other people not optional. Your next passenger slides into the cab, slams the door rather violently. She gives you her address. You start driving. So yeah, basically in story mode, all of our actions take less time and money. We get more money from the fares. You give her a quick once over. No suitcase, no purse, no pile of papers or tickets, no wedding band, and a look of defeat on her face. She dropped someone off at the airport, not her kid, not her husband, not a colleague or a client. Who? Should I or shouldn't I? You raise your head. Excuse me? Your passenger jumps. Did I say that out loud? You kind of did. Her face turns crimson. I'm sorry, She shakes her head, apologizes profusely, and stumbles over her words. Everything all right? Yes, it's just, She shakes her head slowly. It's a bit hard to understand what's going on with me right now. You sense she needs to talk about it, more like she must talk about it. Her voice is warm and deep and has a stunning accent. The West Indies? I'm in shock. No, not the West Indies. Don't worry, it's nothing serious. On the contrary, I'm in love. Silence. She's from an island, but you can't tell which one. Out of the blue, just like that, whereas I'm usually... She shakes her head. I'm usually the one people fall in love with. I'm demanding, complicated. I always have someone on my mind, but it's never the right person. But this time it was reciprocal. She flashes an incredible smile. She's an American, lives in Seattle. She's a journalist like me. She was here covering the terrorist trial. Our eyes kept crossing. We spent 4 days side by side. Just enough time for the trial to come to an end, for us to wrap up and spend an evening wandering along the banks of the Seine. Her eyes get a bit misty. It was really cold out, but we didn't even notice. Her smile suddenly vanishes. And I just dropped her off at the airport. There you have it. She pauses. It was short, intense. We'll probably never see each other again. Maybe it's better this way. A vacation romance. Exactly, in the dead of winter, but that's the idea. Just a fling. She shifts her body slightly and seems to forget you. She's lost in thought. You can see her lips move, tremble from words she doesn't form words she doesn't say out loud. Then suddenly you hear her whisper, "Go with her." An odd look takes over her face. Yes, take a plane, follow her, find her. But she giggles. What would I tell work? I can't just... She doesn't bother finishing her sentence. Even she doesn't believe the lie she's telling. Yes, I have time to make up, comp time. It's the least my editor can do. She pauses. Yes. I mean, why not? She's got a layover in London, has to spend most of the day there. I go to the ticket counter and she stops. No, tickets will cost me a fortune. She sighs. I know, I already looked. The next flight is at 6. Her eyes wander. A fortune. None of that was really intended for your ears, but you feel like answering all the same. What if she's the love of your life? She almost jumps. The love of my life? She leans towards you, wrinkles her forehead, and smiles a genuine smile. Just what kind of cab driver are you? I think we often make bad choices for the wrong reasons. Bad choices for the wrong reasons. That's deep. Let me think about that. Her gaze wanders outside to the road. Parisian suburbia, the yellowish street lamps. Do I really need this money? It's money I've saved up to go visit family. But when I'm there, I feel out of place. Like I'm suffocating. All the more reason then, right? All the more reason indeed. all the more reason. She smiles. Seattle. She looks you straight in the eye. I have to go, don't I? You nod. Very well. Then turn around, please. As soon as you can, you turn around and start heading back to the airport. The road is empty, wide open. The last planes have already left, and the first ones won't take off for a few more hours. Your passenger watches the road go by. I feel good. For the first time in months, like a weight has been lifted. That's love for you, I guess. I mean, her grin gives color to her words. You say that like it's obvious, like it's a natural state. But a lot of people are scared, they're in pain, they're suffering. She stares at you, a little smile on her lips. And you, how are you? Her question throws you off guard, she can tell. It's complicated. The tone of your voice casts a chill over the cab. Okay, I didn't mean to. She shakes her head. We don't have to talk about it. Your passenger's a journalist. Maybe she could help you, give you some information. I need your help. You need my help? You explain the situation, the attack, the hospital. Of course, you leave out Bousset. You don't talk about the wall at your place, the nightmares, your anxiety. I'm doing my own investigation. Her face lights up each time she learns something new. I didn't cover this story, but... She slips into thoughtful silence as you park in a drop-off spot at the airport. I know someone. She gazes deeply into your eyes. The first plane to London doesn't leave until 6 a.m. I'll have time to call my contact. He'll send you what he knows about the judge. Between us, though, it's risky. The killer clearly knows people in high places. You nod. And now all I have to do is empty my bank account and wait for my plane. Time to go. She pays and gets out of the cab. You wave at her a bit nonchalantly. She does the same. You watch her as she disappears into the terminal. Nice. I wasn't expecting her to actually be able to help me. Oh, there's one of the suspects, but I can't get to him. Met Grace. Good God. So bloody expensive. You take a few minutes to update your board with your clues. A bus goes by, making the walls shake. It's time to get going. Can I finally add these? There we go. New location. Cool. All right, so we already know this one is probably nonsense. Homeless man seen around crime scene 2 and 3. Okay. We have a spent bullet case that we haven't learned anything about yet, but we know from the last game that it's part of this gun. First 3 victims, not police leak. Okay. I really wish I could drag these dudes around. Like I could put these wherever I wanted to, because I would put these two together and these two, well, yeah. Victim number 2 was a fierce politician. Don't know that that really makes a difference to me. All right, more information we need to pick up. The phone rings and you jump. You're not used to hearing it. No one ever calls you. It must be Bousset. Yeah, pick it up. You pick it up. Bousset sounds irritated. You there? Yeah. Listen, it's... She pauses. Anyone got the time? Hey, guys, anyone? Fuck, they're all Neanderthals here. Listen, it's early and I'm wiped out. So are you, I bet. Let's get straight to the point. What do you have for me? In a calm and methodical voice, you start giving her the evidence you collected. You start with the first suspect, their connection, second suspect, and so on. After a few minutes in, she lets out a whistle. Not bad at all. Seriously, you should come give a lesson to the zombies I work with. A long sigh. I have some good news for you. We checked the alibi of one of the suspects I gave you. As you listen to her, you turn to the board and pull down the suspect she's referring to. So it's got to be someone else. She snickers. You know how lucky you are? I'm doing your job for you, pal. Bitch. I'll call you in 2-3 days, okay? All right. I'll call you in 3 days, and you better have what I need to make a proper arrest. The DA has fangs. I'm pretty sure he's going to turn into a werewolf at some point. She babbles on for a while. Her voice becomes softer, but just as sarcastic. That would explain his terrible breath. All right, I'm out. She hangs up. You hold the handset to your ear for a while. You have just one thing in mind. Sleeping and forgetting it all. Oh, Okay, I do. Okay, interesting. So I guess they do randomize the killer. You open the sofa bed and lie down. The events of the day run through your head. The streets, the passengers, the faces, their problems. Yep, you say this every night, dude. Okay. All right, well, it's nice we're starting off next to a couple of them. Kind of want to go talk to Herv. Let's hit up some of these places real quick. Ah, the gun shop. This is where we find out about the shell being from an old gun. Can I help you? It's the owner speaking. She's been selling weapons since the 70s. Ah, it's you. It's been ages. Come closer. You make small talk and eventually decide to go for it. I have a question for you about a weapon. You slide the photo of the shell across the counter. She looks up at you. Where's the photo from? She's been doing this for years and you doubt you can pull one over on her. Cops. Yeah, and just how did you end up with police photos? I'm helping them out. I'm not surprised. You're always the type to want to help people out. She practically rips the photo out of your hands. You give her as many details as you can. She takes for a while. The shop doors open and a woman, probably a cop from her appearance, comes in, greets the owner, and disappears, probably to the firing range downstairs. When she opens the door, it creaks and the smell of gunpowder spreads throughout the shop. It's funny, this doesn't fit with what you told me. The shell is in perfect shape, and you told me the bullets are also completely clean. But it's old ammo, you can tell. There are no scratches, but there are a few oxidation stains. Her voice grows darker all of a sudden, like something had escaped from her. In my opinion, it's from an old weapon perfectly maintained by someone who knew what they were doing. In light of what you told me, I'd say it belonged to a cop or a soldier. Could be a family weapon. It was a police service weapon in the 1970s. Either a cop held onto it or the guy you're looking for inherited. That judge there, he's a pro. You raise your head to meet her gaze. Her old bones make that slight shift again, the one that could be construed as a smile. Or she, actually. You know, lots of women shoot, and I give classes if you have any lady friends who are interested. Back in your cab. You glance back at the shop. You don't know how this woman knew that. Anyway, you start your taxi. You have what you need to move forward with your investigation. Okay. So maybe, now that I think about it, maybe the game isn't randomizing the killer. Maybe it just randomly per playthrough takes out one of the, what do you call them? One of the suspects. Does that means Pierrot and the Argentinian woman could both not be the killer. And a coupon for a class on shooting automatic weapons. Trying to keep an eye out for... Okay, I'm gonna go help this chick out real quick. If I remember correctly, she's the one whose cat hitched a ride in our cab. I need to talk to you. It's fine. Except... The passenger who gets into the cab greets you in uncertain tones. Good evening. You try to answer as warmly as possible. Good evening. Good evening, I want to... She stops short, trembling as if in a panic. Is everything all right? No, it's not. She begins pouring her heart out. A flood of sorrow fills the cab. I've lost my cat. She shakes her head as if chasing a bad dream. I know, it's pretty silly. It's pathetic, but I lost my cat. She holds up a poster of the missing animal. His name's Krauke. It's the cat from the other night, you're sure of it? Listen, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but someone saw my cat get into a cab. So I called your company and asked which taxis were in the neighborhood the night he disappeared. You were the only one. I need your help. Her tone is increasingly hesitant, insecure. Please tell me, you know where he is. Where's Krauke? Where's my cat? She takes a deep breath. It's a question of life and death. I saw him, yeah. She sits up straight with a jerk. That's wonderful. Where is he? Take me there. He took the train. Train? She looks down at the poster in her hand. That's why he stole my money. I knew he was up to something. He's so smart for a little ball of fluff. Did you talk to him? You remain quiet. I'm sure you talked to him. Rocky's not just any old cat, you know. He saved my life. I adopted him when he was still a tiny kitten. I took care of him, spoiled him, fed him for weeks. I took time off work to take care of the little thing. I knew right away he wasn't like other cats. He was different. I stood up for him too. When my friends said he was taking up too much room in my life, I dropped them. When they told me he couldn't come with me to work anymore, I changed companies. He's the only reason I get out of bed in the morning. Please, I'm begging you. When my mother died, I decided to get a cat. I thought it would take my mind off things, get me interested in something else, and then she stares at you. I'm gonna ask you one last time. Do you know where my cat is? Tell the truth. Your cat got into my cab. Her eyes flashed with hope. I drove him to St. Lazare. Deauville? Maybe. He's in Deauville, I'm sure of it. He loves it there. Could you stop the car, please? You pull over to the sidewalk. Thank you. She lowers her gaze. I know I was a little too much for him. I might have been a little suffocating, but he was everything to me. And nobody seems to understand. Nobody. That's not healthy. She looks you straight in the eye. What do you mean? To love someone so much you lock them up, you suffocate them. It's not healthy. For a cat, for a man, for a woman. She says nothing. You can hear her struggling to catch her breath. Thank you. I think I needed to hear that. I'm going crazy. Her voice drops to a whisper. Crazy. She opens the car door and hands you a banknote at the same time. I need to be alone. All right. You get out and close the door. You take a deep breath. Your lungs freeze. You wait another minute, then get back inside and start the engine. All right. Let's take a look at our map. Okay, so we can go pick up Herv. We've talked to him. This is the douche who goes to the airport to pick up lonely, emotionally distraught women that we just straight up called an asshole last time. Okay, I'm gonna pick you up. And then, yeah, we're gonna do these locations. Herv is probably gonna be gone, but we'll talk to Herv again. 14th arrondissement, thank you. All right, it's not too far. I'm okay with that. The passenger enters your cab, seems familiar to you. She gives you her address and you start to drive. You glance back at her from time to time, trying to remember where you've seen her before. It's no use. Suddenly, she gives a little pout, clearly annoyed by your insistent gaze. Sorry, your face seems familiar to me. She breathes an audible sigh. Could be. She pauses deliberately. I'm in porn. Oh, okay. That's who she is, an actress. A former actress. You'd seen her in a couple of movies a few years ago. That's probably why you recognize my face. Your mouth suddenly goes dry. Her eyes and voice show no sign of emotion whatsoever. She might as well have said she were a teacher or a dentist. Well, this is going to be tricky because I'm pretty sure she doesn't like the attention, like outside of the work thing, so. You're not just an actress? That's right, I'm not. I hardly do any acting these days. Now I'm a director and a producer. I started my own production company and we make porn. She loves talking about it. You can see it in her face. Oh, okay. Well, that makes it easier. Gender positive porn, committed, respectful. Some call it feminist, but I'm not sure that's how I describe it. Her voice is calm. A gleam of passion lights up her eyes. We shoot with pros. We are respectful of our bodies and personalities. Our actresses and actors are paid well. They receive residual earnings. It's brand new at first. It's fresh and it works. Zero tolerance when it comes to those dubious types, to wandering hands, to any assaults on the well-being of our actors and actresses. Respect, diversity, creativity. She lets out a sigh. I spend a lot of money defending our profession, going after sites illegally broadcasting our videos, making sure pirates are punished. Pirates? People think just because it's on the internet that it's free. It's available. When the latest book by a certain famous French author comes out, and you know which asshole I'm talking about, don't you? You nod yes. Authors like him get a lot of radio time. Well, if parts of the book are made available on the internet, if the final chapter is released where the hero discovers the killer's identity, well, his book stops selling. And since he's a big name author, he has the right to go after the offenders. But what about an actress enjoying sandwich sex with two gorgeous Taiwanese lifeguards? Doesn't that count too? Sure. She gives a mischievous laugh. Of course it does. She leans forward. But by the way, do you like that kind of porn? I'm just asking because I'm curious about what people like to watch. It's not really my thing. It's okay to talk about it, you know. Yeah, sure, tell the truth. It's true, I hardly watch any. Hardly any. Yeah. You blush slightly. Come on, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Do you prefer younger women, older women? Yeah. All right, fine. Do you watch movies? Do you read magazines? Magazines? Magazines, but don't you? You know it's not the Middle Ages anymore. Look, our dude is actually fairly broke. If you saw his apartment, you know he doesn't really have anything that he could use to watch the videos on the internet. She smiles. I like the pictures. Or we could just laugh. Thanks anyway, and sorry for all the personal questions. You can't help reading in her eyes a touch of satisfaction, as if she'd enjoyed asking you all those questions. Before long, you arrive at the address your passenger had given you. You have trouble parking, none of the streetlights are working. There's nothing stranger than an unlit Parisian street in the middle of the night. Your client gives a slight cough behind you. You wouldn't mind staying here until I'm in the building. They're doing work. The lights aren't working. She doesn't even finish her sentence. No problem. Thanks. I have to say I've been feeling a little insecure lately. All of her energy suddenly seems to have vanished. She hesitates a moment as if she can feel your connection with the killer before speaking. I knew one of the victims of the serial killer. Natalie. I knew her pretty well, in fact. We'd worked together, and sometimes she babysat my son. You know, she was a great girl. It was. She starts talking about her friend. Who she was, who she had been seeing, how she had changed just before she died. This is all really good information. Thanks, lady. You make a mental note of the new information. I'll stay here until you're in the building, okay? Thank you. She hands you the fare and exits the cab slowly, crossing the street in total darkness to the door of her building. Doesn't seem like a missed opportunity now. You remember that night, the pain, the stab of the knife in your side. If only you'd turned your head, you would have seen your assailant's face. Maybe they would have killed you that night. Maybe your attacker would have already spotted you in your cab. Your passenger waves to you as the building door closes. You wave back. Fear spreads slowly through your body. You breathe in slowly and drive away. Oh, with the pictures? Yeah. I'm waiting for that one dude to show up, and he just is not. Like the last cop. Okay, I've dealt with you. That's the Japanese guy who the only word we can agree on is Yakuza. So I'm gonna head up here, let these guys reset. I don't remember what this location is. I don't know if we got this one in the last game. You park your taxi across from a stadium. Oh, yes, that's right. Our friend who apparently stole our wife? It's an odd brick place that clashes with the huge concrete behemoth that is Charlotte Stadium. You get out of the car and walk to the front door. You knock. You wait a few minutes, lights come on, and the door finally opens. Marco appears. Marco is a former taxi driver, a strange guy, a bit spacey and different. He's been working at the stadium for a few years now. Well, shit, you're still alive? That's Marco. You like him. I mean, wow, so nice to see you, even though he stole your wife. Come in, come in. You want something to drink? Oh, right, you stopped drinking. Cup of coffee? Yeah, sure. You follow him into his caretaker's home. It's pretty nice despite the mess and filth. He serves you a cup of coffee and sits down at the table. You follow suit. The only noise in the room is the TV behind Marco. Before he came by, he was playing a soccer video game. The fans are singing and clapping their hands. So, what have you been up to? I mean, I've been okay. Make small talk until he suddenly sits up. Oh shit, I know why you're here. You got something to ask me. You let him stew for a minute. No, shit. The last time I helped you out, I lost my job, so the answer's no. You have no choice and you know it. You owe me this much. Marco drops his head between his shoulders. He starts to beg. I'm telling you, man, I love this job. It's so easy. I get to take care of a stadium that's empty 75% of the time. He sits up roughly in his chair. Behind him on the screen, the stadium is going wild. I need information on Ronan Bassan. He straightens up. Ronan, the coach that got killed by the judge? The very one. He was a great guy. Everyone's torn up about it. Drink your coffee. I hate it when you do that sort of thing. Seriously, it freaks me out. He pops a sigh. This is gonna get back to me somehow. There were rumors. Some parents heard he was a little too hands-on with the kids a while back, if you get my drift, but no one ever looked into it. Was it true? I don't know nothing. He sighs. A few months ago, Ronan cornered a kid, like by the showers, you know what I mean? The kid stabbed him in the thigh with a pair of scissors and ran away. The kid's parents weren't sure whether they'd file a complaint. The club director brought Ronan in and bam, 2 days later, he was murdered. Who else knows? Not the kid, no one, I think. Well, maybe some other parents. Don't know. You get up. One last thing. Ooh. Give him the names of the suspects. I don't think we should give him the names of the victims. Ooh, that's tricky, actually. See if he knows any of the suspects or has heard of them. Leaking the names of the victims would be interesting. Yeah, let's go with victims. Because he could also, I mean, if we gave him the name of the suspects, well, that's true. My only thing about mentioning the suspects is he might actually, know if they've been coming around the stadium, like he'd seen some of them interacting with Ronan. Is kind of my concern, is kind of where I was thinking with the suspects. Because I don't know if he'd know much more about the victims. The only victim that was linked to the stadium is Ronan. But we could potentially find a... Except that... The killer operates by the info links. True. Except... The thing with the info leaks is that we've only got one cop left that's actually considered a suspect. So I don't know if the leaks thing. Yeah, let's go with the victims. I want to see if there's like a common thread between the victims. He lists the victims. He doesn't react until you mention Charles Bougrain. Oh yeah, him. I know him. I mean, everybody knows him. Right-wing extremist son of a bitch. Hold on. What are you doing these days? Can't say. Marco sits up. Damn it, I'm gonna get fired. Easy. His voice speeds up. Don't tell anyone where you got this information, okay? Yeah, don't worry, dude. I'm not gonna rat you out. You gave me info. Yeah, I've heard that before. A vuvuzela noise comes from the TV. Okay, got to run. He walks you to the door, mumbling with clenched teeth. Every time I run into you, you jinx me. Every single time. You walk outside and over to your taxi. Door, key, motor purring, you go back to work. Okay. So there wasn't really a link between them, just that one of our victims was famous. Okay. Okay, I believe we've talked. This is the farmer dude who was on the reality show. Yakuza dude. Politician. Never talked to this dude or this lady down at the bottom. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get enough information to solve it this time either. I need a man I can trust. Oh, really? I don't like the sound of that. The man getting in your cab seems anxious. You've seen these types before, late for a meeting, late to catch a plane, late getting home. He gives you an address in the 15th arrondissement. You recognize him, a former deputy or senator. Oh, okay, I like that. He looks at you nervously in the mirror. He's upset about something. Everything all right, sir? Yes, fine, thank you. His eyes are watering. He runs a hand across his damp forehead. He's sweating a great deal for a winter night. He clears his throat. Excuse me, I was wondering. Yes? Do people ever leave things in your taxi? All the time. Ah, all the time. That's good to know. He pauses and attempts to pull himself together. He looks cramped in his suit. And what do you do with the things people forget? Do you keep them? We take them back to the central office and wait for someone to claim them. Oh shit. I mean, fine. Very good. How civil of you. Good job. Uh-oh. He pauses again. Do you need anything? Well, yes, no. How shall I say? I need to lose something if you get my drift. And I need to lose it in your taxi. Don't understand. Sorry, I owe you an explanation. I just got out of a meeting. It was awful. Sighing to himself, he adds, awful. I've always been loyal to the party, you know. I've always followed orders, gotten the job done. My mother was a card-carrying member, my father an elected official, but I just can't do it anymore. I'm gonna leave my briefcase here in the back seat. A moment goes by, he stares at you. You might say it was an oversight, you see. And then what happens? And then someone will take care of the briefcase. When you drop the taxi off, bring the briefcase to the head office. Someone will come pick it up. He takes a deep breath. This country we live in, it's going to hell in a handbasket. Everyone running it is corrupt. They've sold out. They're thieves, all of them. He slowly lays the briefcase beside him. We have lunch with lobbyists, dinners with bankers. We should burn everything, start over from scratch. Sometimes I dream we'll all get sick, be swept away by a political plague. A flu for suits. He pauses, exhales, shakes. I can't bear to see them spend 600 euros on a meal when they just decided to close a hospital that suddenly became too costly to maintain. 6 months ago, we refused to vote for a law that would have prevented the building in Pantin from burning down. You remember? 6 months ago, we could have saved 75 people. He stumbles over the next words. The public housing minister, when we presented that bastard with a bill, he burst out laughing. As if the people living in those crumbling buildings were just peons. The passenger groans as if in pain and suddenly stops talking. What are you going to do now? I'm going to sleep. Then they'll send me to prison. Or worse, to a far-off ward. Some overseas territory, Guyana or something like that. He struggles to swallow. That's what they do to traitors. And after that, we'll see. Tomorrow is another day, if you know what I mean. Silence. Stop the car. Act as if everything is normal. You park along the sidewalk. You suddenly notice your client smells terrible. Sour, pungent BO, almost unbearable. He pays his fare and slips you an extra bill. Your compensation. He gets out and walks away quickly without turning back. You open the window to air out the cab. Ooh, damn. Can I read what he gave me? Or what he left in my cab? No? You just... No? Well, that sucks. I would have hoped I would have gotten some information from that. Herv, you're the only suspect that's actually out on the street right now. Let's go talk to Herv. We don't have a lot of time anyway, so we have to, like, we're almost out of time for the night. I need a ride, cabbie. Oh my God, you want to go way the fuck out there. Shit. All right, let's do it. The door opens. It's Irv. How's it going, Oing? Hi, Irv. You start the engine. Your passenger keeps looking over his shoulder, clearly worried. Is everything okay, Herv? Yeah, sure, no worries. His voice trails off. He seems to be collecting himself. It's just, there's a cop on my tail, Jail. A cop? Has anyone come around asking about me? What do you mean? You know, like from the crime squad. Nah, nobody's been talking to me about you. That guy's been driving me crazy, asking all these questions, digging up my past, you know what I mean? Digging up your past? Like my old girlfriends and stuff, where I used to live, why I left the shelter skelter. At first I thought it was that killer, you know, the serial killer, but he was after me. Were you somehow involved in all that? Nah, not really. It's just I saw that serial killer guy's face. Hey, dude. He pauses just enough time for your brain to process the information. You got to look at the judge. Your passenger gives you a funny smile. I saw him in profile, Mile. Well, I saw him. You know, a few weeks ago when he did his last victim. Me? I was like sleeping in an alley. He just across the street from where, well, you know, he killed the last victim. My stomach hurt. I couldn't sleep and, you know, I saw him in profile. He had this weird way of walking, sort of hunched over, as if he were tired. That's all? Yeah, that was all I saw. He had black gloves and the streets were dark. I didn't see anything else. He's staring at you. But why do you care, man? I think I saw him too. The killer? Yeah. Shit, I didn't know. What happened? When? There's a note of urgency in his voice. Was it 3 months ago? No, because 3 months ago we were in the hospital. Okay, so we were in the hospital for 2 weeks, and then a month passed, so it's only a month and a half. Not too long ago. Must have been scary. You've got to be careful with guys like that. They're crazy, not right in the head. His face creases into a cruel smile like a naughty child. And I know what I'm talking about. But man, if that cop comes around to talk to you again, you tell him to go fuck off for me, all right? A note of anger has crept back into his voice. Goddamn cops, they're never there when we need them. I'm sure as hell ain't going to help, yelp. They can go kick, sick. He looks away furious. You keep quiet and focus on the road. All of a sudden, your passenger gives the seat back in front of him a thump. Hey, stop right here, near. You slow down and pull over as soon as you can. Okay, I'm out of here. Is everything all right, man? Yeah, sure, no worries. Just a little business to take care of. The door opens, then closes, and Herb vanishes into the darkness. You open the windows on your side. You're dying for a cigarette to relieve the pressure. To calm your racing heart, you take a deep breath and drive away. Yep, we don't get paid for helping Herb. Oh, I can... Okay, I was about to say, I don't think I can take another fare this late. That was very suspicious, Tahor, I agree. Steps in the hallway. They stop in front of your door and then move away. Time to get moving. All right. Victim number 2 was a fierce politician. Molester never arrested, so we leave that on Salim. Killer was wearing black gloves. I was gonna say, how does that actually... That doesn't really help, guys. Anybody can be... Killer's height less than 1.70 meters. What? That only makes sense for him. He's the only one that applies to. All right, maybe. It's a customer source, a rumor, so yeah. Yep, so it's definitely not her. At least from everything we've received. Police gun in the 70s. Victim killed with 1 bullet in the neck. Death equals execution. Here's the thing, though. Well, I was gonna say... I mean, they say everybody was killed with a gun. Right? Wait, none of them actually say that, do they? Because he tried to kill us with a knife, but then again, we weren't planned. He's the only one left that police leaks that that could access police leaks according to this. Well, since this dude's out of the picture, I'm gonna put all my non-linked items over here. So death and execution would go together. And no sign of violence, because that would be a professional. We have yet to see this guy that we can take into our cab. So yeah, There's a spent bullet case. Okay. I mean, it's pointing us very heavily towards Fragonard, but there is something very suspicious about how Herv is acting. He also mentioned the person has a weird way of walking, hunched over. Could it be that because the dude's, like, he's retired, he's older? So we need to keep an eye out for Paul Marie Fragonard. We need to get him in the cab. Far, far away from here. Yep. Same thing every night. A second later, you're asleep. You open one eye. Your attention turns to shouting upstairs. Yep. Night 5. Herv's back. Kind of feel like we need to talk to Herv. Try to get as much information out of him as we can. Even if he doesn't pay us for his fares. I don't think we're gonna get any information from the poet lady. I liked her, weird as that she was, but I don't think we're gonna get shit from her information wise, no matter how much I talk to her. So I'm not bothering her with this time, or the gigolo. So the door opens. It's Herv. He greets you with his bizarre verbal tick as usual. Getting damn cold out now, Al. Hi, Herv. You start the engine. The passenger in the back seat is whistling a funny tune. He's in a pretty good mood. You look good. Yeah, thanks. Some days are like that. Everything goes your way, hey? Belly is full, your buddies are around to help you. You're not cold. He gives you a smile. And then you know you get good news. Oh, really? Really, something you're glad to hear. Well, out with it then, man. Well, it's my ex-wife. She just got married again. And oh, this is the first conversation we had with him in our first playthrough. A real love story and all that, just the way we like them. You're not jealous? Jealous? He shrugs. I don't believe in being jealous. Being jealous is for jerks, all right? She's happy and I am too, so why beat yourself up over being jealous? In the rearview mirror, your passenger's face clouds over as if what he was saying had just sunk in. Suddenly, between clenched teeth, he hisses. Whore. You look up. Whore? What? Didn't you just say whore? Your passenger smiles slightly. Don't worry about it. I was thinking about something else. Suddenly, Herv opens the cab door. You can pull up over here. I don't want to get you into any trouble. The guys in the squat can be a little on edge, Hedge. You park the car and Herv opens the door. Good night and thanks again, Ken. He gives you a smile. All right, so he disappears into the building. Same as the first time we talked to him, except I did change the dialogue options up a little bit to see if it made a difference. And it does not. All right, so none of these guys are Fragonard. So since we're right next to a gas station, let's fill up. I might buy a newspaper while I'm here just in case. And we can get hints from this dude. You'd think they'd have caught him by now. The clerk smiles. You recognize the twinkle in his eye. The guy has something to tell you. So we got a new clue. Good. I'm gonna buy the newspaper. I'm gonna scratch off a lottery ticket. I won €1. Yep. Leave the gas station. Let's start collecting fares. Yeah, really. Let's talk to you. This dude's new. We gotta earn some money anyway. Out of nowhere, you hear a voice whispering in your ear. This is where I died. You brake hard. There's no noise in the cab, no noise outside. A silhouette appears on the back seat of the cab. Its features appear one by one as if drawn with a paintbrush. You know, Ludwig, I really don't like the fact that you take time out of my cab and don't pay me. Even ghosts don't get free rides, you little bastard. So much suffering. You squint, a little boy. Would you be so kind as to drive me? Sure. Very well, let us drive then. The boy's silhouette flutters for a moment, then disappears entirely. You hold your breath. On the back seat behind you, the boy slowly reappears. You start driving. Rue de Rosiers, please. You stare at the rearview mirror. What for? We haven't decided yet. Like, we haven't been able to tell if he's actually insane or if he just has visions. Start driving. Little ghost heaves a short sigh. He seems happy. Your stomach starts to growl. You're hungry. Strange. Usually you never fall victim to the night munchies. Your colleagues often gain weight when they work the night shift. Nothing to do but snack. Okay, this is a new. This wasn't here last time. Tonight, however, you're famished. We're going to the Rue des Rosières to eat the best falafel in Paris. I love walking around there, drinking in the smells, hearing the hiss of fried food, seeing juices and sauces dripping off the sandwiches. You seem almost giddy. Oglers who twist every which way to catch a piece of tomato about to fall. His silhouette blurs. I wish I could taste it all. The rear window lowers all by itself. A gust of icy cold wind fills the cab. You close the window as quickly as possible. Behind you, the little ghost's voice starts to break up, scatter. I can just imagine, but it's not the same. It's just not like the real thing. No, not at all. The same. He seems far off, about to disappear. Everything okay? He does not answer your question, becomes vague and hesitant. They're screaming, shouting, throwing themselves to the ground. A bomb goes off, another. Same. He catches his breath, looks outside, points at something in the distance. There, Rue des Rosières. Paris stopped there. The city wall on which so many children played hide and seek no longer exists. I never even climbed up there. Now the stones are hidden in other buildings, and no one will ever find them again. Such is the life of a city. He grows silent for a moment. A nauseating smell takes over the cab. It takes you a few seconds to recognize it. Gunpowder. I've never found the smell of gunpowder to be nauseating, but okay. Rue des Rosières, Bitter Street. How many people thought they were at home there before leaving to grow old elsewhere? There was a terrorist attack. Right here. 6 dead. Right in the middle of lunch. Plates were being passed, bottles being poured, forks falling on the floor. The child in the back blurs, becomes distant. I can imagine the last sentences they pronounce, their last words. No, don't worry about it. Yes, I can give you something else instead. 2 coffees. Coffees. When he starts to speak again, his voice has a broken quality. As if there were a far-off, threatening figure walking towards the car. That could be true. I'm not very familiar with the smell of black powder, Stahor. It's funny, he doesn't look like his costume, it changes. Like he was talking about, like, in the first time we encountered him, he was talking about stuff from several hundred years ago. And there was a recent terrorist attack in this game. There's a dude on trial for it that he just talked about. So maybe he just flickers through and maybe there's other ghosts. Because he's getting information about stuff he doesn't really fit in with, time period wise. I'd like to drink coffee. I didn't even know it existed before, when I was still alive, breathing, walking. His figure flutters. What about you? Do you like coffee? You can tell that's not just a simple question. The child smiles at you. To be fair, if he was already a ghost, he would have been around for the terrorist attack. So yeah. Tell me about coffee. Its taste, its texture, its warmth. Tell me everything. Sure. Coffee is a drug, a hard one. What? It screws with your stomach, not mine. Reminds you you're really just a machine inside. Tubes, pockets, filters. It burns your throat and stomach. This dude drinks some shitty coffee. Why do you drink it then? I don't know. I think that sums up who we are, doesn't it? He glanced back at the kid. He's listening in silence. So, you don't like it? Oh no, I do. But it's like cigarettes, a slow killer. No matter the quality of the beans or the tobacco, it's poison. Research to the contrary. A memory floats through your head, a heavy-set figure rolling a cigarette between his worn fingers. We are complicated beasts. Yes, we like to mistreat ourselves. Like what happened in the Rue des Rosières. Suddenly he is gone. You brake sharply, keeping an eye on the rearview mirror. You're now alone in the taxi. Alone and craving falafel. Like, I like the kid, but goddamn, pay me for riding in my cab. Jesus. I've never talked to this person. Oh, I guess I could have picked that one up. I couldn't tell where I was hidden. I need help with the delivery. All right, let's go. The passenger who sinks into the back seat is one of the hordes of cyclists you almost always hit at red lights. She's a bike courier, the kind who pays no attention to red lights, stop signs, or right-of-ways. She gives you a smile. Holy shit, it's flipping freezing out. You smile. Do we know each other from somewhere? I don't think so. I I probably just cut you off on my bike or something. Or maybe it was me. Maybe I changed lanes without signaling. You both burst out laughing. She gives you an address. It's for a delivery, but it's too cold. I can't seem to get warm. You start the cab and turn the heat to high. Warm air fills the car. The young woman nods. Thanks, that's exactly what I'm here for. She closes her eyes as if to enjoy the muffled hum of the heater. I hope you don't mind. There was no way I was going to get back on my bike. I left it behind with my colleagues in front of that restaurant. She sighs. I know it's pretty counterproductive, paying for a cab ride to deliver food, but all the warm air, it feels good. How's work going? The young woman is struggling to stay awake. Pretty good, though I had to run in with one of my colleagues tonight. She falters. He's a real know-it-all, the kind of guy who thinks he's been there, done that. The work itself is pretty good, though. In the winter, we do a lot of business. People stay holed up at home like rabbits. I have to say, I understand them. She yawns. I'm warming up, but I sure am tired all of a sudden. She closes her eyes. Sorry, we're already here. You pull up to the address. Right, back to work. The delivery girl quickly exits the cab, slamming the door behind her. She rings the door of an elegant Parisian building. A moment later, the door cracks open. The courier hands her client a plastic bag with takeout containers inside. She smiles. The door shuts. She rushes over to the cab and flings herself in the back seat. Come on, let's get out of here, fast. You start the cab. Back to the restaurant, please. I left my bike there. Well, that's that. Her phone chirps. Business is picking up. She sighs. But yeah, I think I'm going to wait a little. Check it later. She settles comfortably into the back seat and closes her eyes. You been doing this for a long time? It's been, this is my second winter, so yeah, a year and a half or so. Time really flies. I have to say, it gets pretty boring after a while. She flashes you a toothy grin. At first you're like, yeah, what's the best shortcut? How can I get to that restaurant as fast as possible? But after a while, you know, always the same old routine. There's a pause. She gives a short laugh. Nah, I shouldn't complain, really. At least I can take it easy on my bike. There's no one to really mess around with me. She lets out a silvery laugh that's very soothing in tone. The laugh of someone you can trust. Do you really like what you do? Yeah, I do, absolutely. Sure, we don't earn much and the job is really exhausting, but first of all, I have a killer ass. Okay. My dates can't believe it. Guys are really crazy about it. All my girlfriends want to know my secret. Basically, it's a win-win situation. But second, and this is what I really love, I'm my own boss. A faint smile spreads over her face. Well, I do have a boss, actually. My telephone. It's an algorithm. Some guy calls me every now and then, asks me questions, asks me to take on more shifts. But he doesn't grab my ass. He doesn't waylay me in the corridor. He doesn't ask me to be a good little girl and go pick up a sandwich. And that makes it all worthwhile. She looks serious as if she had just concluded a long speech. So that, my friend, is why I wouldn't trade in my bike for all the world. Any prospects for the future? No, you're right. Not as much as far as prospects go. It's not like I'm going to be made team manager or anything, that's for sure. But it's not all that bad. There are worse jobs around. And I know what you're going to say. I'm being exploited, badly paid, all that. But the worst part is actually the customers. You look at her in surprise. No, I swear, it's true. You deliver their dinner because they're worn out after working all day. And they don't even tip you a single euro. Still, they're understanding all that. They give me articles about all the big bad delivery businesses abusing us. And then they order sushi from the restaurant down the street. Never trust a stomach. She makes a little farting sound with her mouth. Believe me, a bunch of cheapskates. She stops you with a gesture before you can speak. But all that is just for the time being. Promise. I'm putting a little aside like my father always said. I'm gonna open a takoyaki food truck. Have you ever had takoyaki? You pull up to the restaurant. A swarm of bike couriers are waiting for their orders. Yes. Oh, cool. I want it to be the latest thing. It's basically a pretty simple idea. Sell them to people lined up for concerts, movies, plays. She smiles. Anyhow, I'm out of here. There are a lot of starving people in Paris and we don't want to let them down. She hands you the fare and exits the cab. Thanks again, really. You're good company. If you ever need a shortcut, just ask. She gives you a last smile, then walks over to her crew. All right. Let's scroll around, see if we can't spot that one individual. Okay, Yakuza, Santa, politician, poet. I don't know who you are. I don't know if I ever picked this dude up. You got coffee with Ade here, or was it with... No, it was Ade. Sunny Talpa. You double park and wait for your next passenger to slide into the back seat. I should read the paper. He looks at you like he appreciates you in your taxi. He gives you his address. Oh, I've talked to him before. You start driving. A few words are exchanged, the weather, taxes, traffic. Then you can tell it's coming, the inevitable conversation about the killer. Some bits of information, rumors, things overheard. Make a mental note of what you've heard. Who knows? It might come in handy. Your passenger doesn't make a sound for the next few minutes of the trip. It doesn't bother you. You have enough on your mind. Your investigation, the judge, Bousset. You're overcome with a craving to smoke. You nod slowly and glance at your passenger. Calm and still, he seems far away. Everything all right, buddy? Yes, thank you. He slowly turns his head towards you and gives you an odd look, like he's disappointed that you're talking to him. He watches you closely for another minute and turns back to look out the window. You keep your eyes on the road. The silence becomes heavy. All of a sudden, you feel a strange sense of camaraderie with your passenger. You look at him quickly in the rearview mirror. He doesn't look familiar at all, and yet it's like you know him. A second later, an outside light shines on his face at a weird angle. Looks like he's smiling. A few seconds later, you drive down his street. He straightens up a bit. You park in front of the number he gave you. He pays his fare without a word. The door opens slowly, and he smiles at you. You can tell it comes from the bottom of his heart, despite how uptight he is. You're really a swell guy. You weren't expecting that. And he disappears into his building. All right, if I don't see this dude, like the... Okay. Yep, I don't see the dude, so we are going to take some time to read the newspaper. It's a photo of the French soccer team who just won a match against the team from Vanuatu, or Vanuatu. You have no idea where it is. You turn the page and stop. You're about a third of the way through it. Keep reading. Learn from a few lines that a photo exhibit about Parisian taxi drivers will open soon. You wonder if any actual taxi drivers will go to see it. As soon as you get to the page, you stop. Your instincts tell you to look at. It's a rather enthusiastic article about a bar named Napo. You make note of that with interest. All right, nothing really this time. Okay, I've picked both of these guys up before, so let's go pick this lady up. Back seat. So I'm gonna have to clean out my cab. Okay. I think I've picked this lady up before, actually. She looks really familiar. I have to get back to the 16th. Oh, it's the... Yes. The fur she wears around her neck must be worth several days' pay. She opens her mouth. Good evening. Before you start driving, I just need to tell you something very... She purses her lips. Shit. Whore. She continues to look at you, the same smile frozen on her face. She just shouted gibberish at you, but her face hasn't budged. It's like she isn't even aware of what she said. She purses her lips even harder. I, doggy foreskin. I am truly sorry. Please hear me out. I am suffering from a major emotional trauma. They're exhausting, to be honest. I hope you can understand. Please know that I don't believe a single word that I'm saying. She smiles. Tiny dick. It's my husband. She shrugs. Married for 25 years, 2 kids, a house on the coast, all sorts of fun plans for the future. Then, a sad smile flashes across her face. Eat shit. She looks at you. I'm used to it. Thank you for your understanding. She grins for just a second. Here I am discovering how to live alone for the first time at 50. Crazy, isn't it? Toilet brush up your ass. It's really not so easy. You bite your cheek to avoid laughing and start driving. With a bit of luck, your passenger won't say anything for the remainder of the ride. Your passenger sighs. I am devastated. Devastated. You raise an eyebrow and look in the mirror. An entire year of therapy vanished into thin air. Runny colon. Okay, this is a new path. How terribly sad. These days, the medical field is just... What's wrong? Just imagine, I spent more than 40 hours talking to this therapist, not to mention the thousands of euros she was paid. This afternoon, we started talking. We were talking about my relationship with my son. She purses her lips. Classic topic, no particular problems. A giant cock forest. Your passenger coughs gently as if to cover up the monstrosity she just shouted. Calm down. And right then and there, she started to laugh. The laugh. Her eyes bug out of her head with rage just thinking about the laughter. The laugh came from the back of her throat. Tears were streaming down her face. She apologized, got up, left the room, laughing all the while. Incredible, just incredible. She leans towards you. Her overpowering perfume stings your nose. Tell me, sir. Cunt. Do you think this is funny? Silence. You scan her face to try to determine how serious she is. You get the impression she's completely and totally serious. You see a tear in the corner of her eye. It's surprising. I'm not going to say it's not funny at all, because that's lying. It's surprising. Your passenger pauses. Surprising? Yeah, it's not your everyday problem. It's a handicap, a disease. You shake your head apologetically. She crumples in the back seat. The stench of her perfume suddenly seems less intense. I'm everyone's laughingstock, aren't I? I don't know. She can't hear you. She's talking to herself. Oh, Angelique, old Jean-Pierre's good wife. Twat, twat, twat. She couldn't take the fact that he left her for a woman half his age. She's gone crazy, you know? She's unrecognizable with all her tics and the stuff that comes out of her mouth. Monstrosities, insults. Your client sighs. My therapist generally hates it when I speak to myself in the third person. She says it's dangerous, that it separates us from who we are. Piss-filled water skin. I'm not sure I feel like taking all her terrible advice. She closes her eyes. Her face, the tears of laughter. How traumatic. I mean, that is really unprofessional. You should file a complaint. File a complaint? Yes, with Bureau of Shrinks or whatever. She keeps an eye on you. No, shit, no, I don't think so. File a complaint? What a horrendous idea. I understand why she burst out laughing. I mean, I know that. She points to her face, her mouth. I know it's not easy to handle. I know it shocks people. She shakes her head. The other day at the supermarket, I said to the woman at checkout, the word. She raises her shoulders and is red with shame. The other word for a woman's chest. That starts with T. Nod. She looks at you in the rearview mirror. I must confess that it was funny. The look on her face when I said that word, she lets out a giggle. You've almost reached your destination. Maybe I should call her back. Who? Whore. My shrink, as you put it. She was a big help. 6 months ago, it was much worse. You swallow uncomfortably and prefer not to picture what that must have been like. You pull up in front of your passenger's building. She pays her fare, but doesn't get out right away. It's silly, actually. Syphilis. When I'm angry, I don't cuss at all. Maybe I should be angry more often. If it makes you feel better, yeah. She smiles shyly. Have a good evening, sir. Whore. She waves and gets out of the taxi. As for her perfume, it lingers right there in the cab. You air out for a moment before you drive away. Oh, Jesus. Talk to you, all these people. Don't believe I've talked to him. You wouldn't like me when I'm calm. I'm trying to focus on new people because I know these ones, I know the dialogue can change a bit, but none of these people have ever had any information for me about the case. This dude just disappears. He just speaks in Japanese the whole time. Avenue de Sibel in the 14th arrondissement. Let's go. You pick up your client right outside the entrance of a public hospital. Damn it, I've talked to this dude too. He slips into the back seat and blurts out an address in an upscale neighborhood. Everything about him denotes fatigue, voice, face, eyes. Judging by his clothes, you doubt he's a doctor. But you're well aware that appearances can be deceiving. Your eyes meet and you give him a smile. He doesn't respond. The ride begins in silence. In the rearview mirror, you notice your passenger's clenched fist, tight mouth, and twitching eyelids. Leave him alone or break the ice? Let's break the ice. They're good at that hospital. Your words startle him. Excuse me? I was just saying they're good at that hospital. They took care of me for a couple of weeks. He moves in closer, ever so slightly, as if to better stare at you. Nothing serious, I hope. You shake your head, no. All those are lies. No, nothing serious. Utter silence. You try to read your passenger's thoughts in the rearview mirror. His head dips in a reluctant nod as if hesitant to speak. He moves a hand to his pants pocket, feeling for something. No luck. He breaks off, sorry to have spoken, but his anger wins out. You can sense it beneath the surface, eating away at him. You're right, the staff at the hospital is excellent, especially the nurses, the doctors. They're young and committed, pretty unusual for a public hospital. He turns his gaze to the passing window with its Christmas decorations, darkened windows, and rare passersby. You don't let your guard down. I work in the private sector. I'm a gynecologist, but my father, his voice shakes. I can't even begin to tell you. He lowers his gaze. You sense he's gone to some far-off place. Then he comes around. The day I graduated from high school, my father shook my hand and said, "It's your turn now to try to be as successful as me, but you'll never be a match for me." Yeah. Maybe just his way of motivating you? But I remember this story. The dude was just an absolute asshole. No, it definitely wasn't. He doesn't like me. He hates me, really. He's always considered me an inferior being. Like some kind of parasite, really. He's never forgiven me for going into the private sector. All told, he's talked maybe 3-4 times in the past 6 years. A chilling silence. Who reaches out first? He usually did. Your passenger's jaw is slowly relaxing. He called to tell me an uncle or cousin had died. Sometimes it was just a pretext to make some new dig. He's read my name in a magazine, wanted to make fun of one of my clients. He shakes his head. I treated a lot of actresses at one point. Forget it. He's gonna die. He's only got a few days left. Generalized cancer. There's nothing more to be done. His new wife contacted me, asked me to come, so I did. Like a good son. He gives an acid laugh. He called me an idiot and roasted me in front of the intern. He didn't spare me a single fucking thing. The choices I've made, my life, my work. I grabbed my jacket and walked out. He can die there, all alone. Sometimes disease can make you... He closes his eyes and lifts a hand. No, stop, please. It's not the disease. The disease hasn't changed him. His voice thickens with emotion. You can hear the fury in every syllable. The only thing that man ever gave me was hatred. I don't know what I did to deserve it. I worked hard. Everything I am today, I did it all without his help. He kicked me out the day I graduated. You can hear the muscles working in his jaw. Was that on account of the disease too? You remain silent. You can see his building at the end of the street. That was the last time I ever saw him. Pale and shrunken like a pathetic-looking rat. A small lab rat devoured by disease, his skin all shriveled up by the chemo. You park your car. Your passenger hands you the fare. Keep the change. He exits the car and walks away without closing the door. All right. Rich neighborhood, sure. And that is the end of that day. I met Ludwig. Jesus. So even on the story mode, you lose a lot of money in this fucking game. Holy hell. All right, so we did get some new hints. That was the fantastic politician one. Didn't really make a difference. I think for the most part, everything is aiming for this dude, but I can't find him to talk to him. Bit of a problem. With a heavy hand, you wipe your tired face. You lie down on the sofa. Its frame creaks. Suddenly, you're asleep. You open one eye. You slept badly. All right. Night 6. The next day is when that lady's going to reach out to us, so we can start the day with Herv. There's the rich lady. So I could pick him up. However, that is going to have to wait until tomorrow, seeing as I am all out of time for today. So, thank you everybody for joining me. I hope you guys all have a good day, and I will see you in the next stream.